My mind worked backwards just for a minute. I hold on to you before the memory's gone. I remember you. You lift my spirit. With you high is all I'm feeling. Remember how we felt alive. I remember you. You make me stronger. Can't go without it much longer. Remember, remember. I remember you. You lift my spirit. With you high is all I'm feeling.
Welcome, everybody, to episode 107 of the ADV podcasts. And boy, do we have a jam-packed episode for you today.
What's up, Beijing?
Yeah, indeed. Oh, where is that?
我在北京
No, but in all seriousness, guys, we've got a lot to talk about. So let's saunter right into it immediately with our
Betcha.
What's New. So we're going to talk about what's new with regards to China in this segment, as we always do.
I wonder if you didn't introduce that, what people would think that would be about. They'd be like,
Well, they could think like,
what's new in the stock market?
It could be. Or
Yeah.
like the top 10, pop hits or whatever.
Top
What's
hits
new?
of new.
Yeah.
Yeah, true. Billboard.
Yeah, exactly. Anyway, so we're going to start out with an interesting little boy over here. Now,
That's your intro?
I have to say that, for some people, this might seem a little creepy to see a little
Well,
boy.
let's
in-
explain it.
Well, basically, there's a little Chinese boy in whiteface with lipstick on.
Yeah, for all of our audio listeners
Yes,
out there.
yeah.
Don't worry, you will be tantalized with his voice soon.
Yeah. No, I mean, the fact of the matter is, when I used to teach kindergarten, that must have been 10, 15, 13 years ago,
Sure.
whatever, long time ago. Whenever there would be like a school play type thing, they would take the little boys and they would make them look like this.
Well, you make it sound like they stopped doing that because they have not.
No, they haven't.
They still do
What
that.
I'm saying is it's very common to see young little boys in full-on makeup.
Right. Now, this is not, everyone's quoting, interesting little boy.
Well, what would you call him?
He's an interesting little boy.
Yeah.
Now, the thing is, I'm not trying to run defense for little boy over here, but I do have to say this has nothing to do with his personal choice.
Of course
he did
not.
not do this.
No.
And I got to say, I always felt bad for the kids, and I'll tell you why.
Mm-hmm.
It's nothing about, you don't even have to bring gender or anything into this. The problem I have with it is dolling up little kids that are like 3 to 5 years old with full-on, like, straight-up clown makeup.
Yeah.
And then sending them out in bizarre, shiny outfits to go do presentations for adults. And it's always the same stuff. They make these poor kids, like, rehearse over and over again
Yeah.
to sing some sort of communist song.
Yeah.
It's usually some sort of, like, Mao Zedong is like my Taiyang or something.
Yeah,
Like Mao is
exactly.
my son.
Yeah.
Like, this kind of stuff. Like,
Well, I Beijing Tiananmen.
well, yeah, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
It's like cute little propaganda, like CCP songs.
Yeah.
And it's funny to see this boy, lipstick boy, be like kind of mainstream.
Yeah.
Because this went wild. Now, this is from a couple years ago, but
Yeah, this was when the pandemic initially broke
Yeah.
out. They released this video.
it was going around again.
Yeah, it's going around again because it's kind of relevant. So let's just play a little clip and then we'll talk about it. So let's just play it.
方舱医院真神奇，治病救人讲不及。
Play it again.
Oh,
for you
yeah,
after we
I'll-
jack up the audio.
Yeah, I'll play it again. Here we go. Let's play it one more time.
方舱医院真神奇，治病救人讲不及。
Now, we only did a little clip because they probably freaking
They'll probably
it.
copyright us, yeah.
But yeah, so basically what he says in English for all your listeners out there, it says makeshift hospitals are amazing.
What he's talking about are the quarantine facilities. Okay, so quarantine facilities are amazing.
Or those makeshift hospitals they made in Wuhan.
Yeah, which are.
which
They are
yeah,
quarantine
same thing,
facilities.
Same thing.
So, yeah, makeshift hospitals, quarantine facilities are amazing.
方舱医院真神奇，
Healing and saving people and teaching dance skills.
Remember that was part of the propaganda was like, don't worry, these people are not dying en masse inside of these horrible facilities, by the way, that are leaking water everywhere. And
Sure.
they weren't able to be used for
Nope.
very long. But they get to learn dance skills when they're in there. I remember that was
Yeah,
their thing.
that was the
They're
thing.
teaching like dancing to everyone in there.
Anyway, so this is a very long and very it's a painful song to listen to be honest. It's very painful.
But
Yeah.
I was more fascinated with the fact that, okay, you got Makeup Lipstick Boy.
Yeah.
Which is ubiquitous.
Yeah,
around
no,
Chinese
it's like
performances.
it's not out of the ordinary.
No.
Like I said, for kindergarten kids especially, it happens all the time.
That's why we wanted to show it to you. But number two, more importantly, I think it's insane that the propaganda apparatus is still making like propaganda current songs in the old style. And actually, I don't know if I ever brought this up. Did I bring this up before? I met one of the guys responsible for making music like this.
Oh, no,
He's actually based in the city that I was living in.
Okay.
But he was from Hainan, and he was a party member. And he had a music studio, and his whole thing was to create new red songs.
You know who else is in Hainan?
Is he now? Not
Yeah,
anymore.
remember, he's like, yeah, well, he was. Sorry, yeah.
I think you mean...
Yeah, exactly.
There you go.
Yeah.
Clan band.
Clayman, yeah.
Yeah, but anyway, so this guy is from Hainan, and he had a whole music production studio, and their whole thing was, and it was it was nice, but it's because it was government funded.
Right.
So it was this beautiful studio, and I was looking to record some. I've always been recording music for 20 years now, right?
Yeah.
So I brought a buddy of mine, a Chinese friend of mine, that he was doing the Chinese part, I was doing the English part of these songs we were writing.
Yeah.
And he made us demo for him so that we could pay him to use the studio. By the way, this is no one's supposed to be paying for this.
Sure.
This is like a government-run studio.
Yeah,
right?
of course.
And it was just in an ad, just like you would see anywhere else. But clearly, he's making money on the side. But he specifically said, to credit to him, he didn't really break the rules that much because he goes, "I'll let you guys use this for free if you're students." And if the song is about the Chinese government, and we were like, "What are you talking about?" And then he explained that he makes only red songs, as they're called, the propaganda songs. And so he wouldn't actually let us, after he heard our demo, he wouldn't let us record in his studio.
Okay.
Yeah, so we had to do it
It's
all
like, nope.
ourselves.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that's the whole point of this is, this is now making the rounds around Shanghai, and all the people are sharing
as
it.
a joke, by the way.
Yeah, as a
Most
joke,
people are
because
like-
people are like, this is ridiculous. Anyway,
Yeah.
叫人家无忌。
he's kind of creepy, that kid.
I mean, it's not his fault.
No, I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They made him creepy. I guarantee he looks completely normal.
No, he's a normal dude.
Yeah.
You know how, like, in Japanese horror, they always have,
Yeah.
like, some little girl with, like, scraggly hair, long hair. Yeah. I think he could be the Chinese equivalent of
Could be.
horror. They could use him. He could just
could.
appear out of a black
And they don't even have to
nothingness.
change his voice.
No. Anyway, enough about the little kid. This is kind of interesting. Explain what's happening here.
So you guys know what Bing is. You might not, because nobody's ever used it in the history of
It's a
mankind.
Microsoft search engine.
Yeah, it's a Microsoft search engine, but it doesn't really exist because no one's ever used it. Ever.
But in China,
Yes.
it's available. Is
It's
it
not-
still
Yeah,
available?
Yeah. Well, they blocked it recently. I think it was unblocked again.
Okay, because
they have
basically
their own
they
version.
towed the line.
Yeah.
You know, like Google pulled out of China when China basically demanded that they change the search results.
Yeah.
So they were like, no, we're not going to do that. It's too much of a hassle. So they were like, well, then we're going to block you.
That's
basically.
correct. So
But
Microsoft
Bing,
was like,
Microsoft was like, don't worry, we'll do it. Our Chinese search engine. We will actually like limit results. Like if someone types in Tiananmen Square,
Yeah.
we'll send you their IP address and where they are, and
is that insane?
type thing.
Like,
anyway,
what? Did they act? They didn't.
no, they didn't do that. I'm just joking.
Okay, in
I'm joking.
Minecraft.
I'm joking. But no, seriously.
definitely
No,
censored.
if you type like Tiananmen Square massacre in Bing in China, you get no results, zero
Yeah.
results, right?
So
in Bing.
for the like 1% out of 100 that said they use Bing, don't use it out of principle because it's actually capitulating to the Chinese government.
Yeah, it's pretty horrible that they did that.
Now, more importantly, this is a Chinese guy took this clip. It's funny as hell because what he shows is that what he's clicking, he typed in. Oh, it actually has translation. It says
Yeah.
the most free speech in a country in the world. So what he's actually trying to search, it says in Chinese, is like which country
Yeah,
in the whole
Xinjiang-
world, has the most free speech.
So, yeah,
if
yeah.
you were ranked,
Yeah.
right?
So in the domestic version of Bing, the one in China, it comes up with China as the answer.
Just by the way, China's ranked, I think, 177 out of 180.
Yeah.
So it's bottom 3.
But if you use the international version of Bing and you search the same thing, what does it do? It says New Zealand.
Yeah.
So yeah. Anyway,
Yeah, I just thought that was
it's kind of funny.
It's also infuriating.
Of course it is.
That even they would try to lie and say it would be China. I mean, even Chinese people know that that's just not the case. But that is a thing that they've been combating. And actually, in Wumao Corner, we're going to talk about that because
kinda crazy.
it's something that they're really just putting out there as fact.
Yeah, that China is amazing for free speech.
That's the go-to country.
Anyway, now this next clip we're going to show you now, this is a little bittersweet. In fact, it's just bitter, to be honest. Okay, but
Well,
what
this
happens in this?
actually made my eyes a little bit
This is a
teary.
good video. So we're going to set this up for you. What you've got is what appeared to be volunteers drive. I guess COVID people driving this truck. Because if you look at another truck in the background, you can see they're wearing the
It looks
darbai.
like that, yeah.
So they're driving around. They're probably going somewhere, and this guy just walks out in the middle of the road. This is confirmed to be in Shanghai, by the way.
Okay.
This is a worker in Shanghai, and he stops, and we'll play the clip quickly, and we'll explain what's happening. So he walks out in front of the truck. Okay.
Guys, he's making motions to like eat,
Yeah.
basically. Because these people are hungry.
Yeah.
Like, they want to eat. So you guys remember during the lockdown, a lot of people went hungry and some people starved to death.
Absolutely. And, you know, if you were not, especially if you're not a local Shanghai hukou holder, in other words, a residence permit holder in Shanghai, so you weren't born there or you don't have a special permit, you got nothing. Okay, you were not prioritized at all.
No.
So this is a guy who's been hired as a temporary worker or whatever the case may be, and he's starving. So he goes out to stop traffic to try and get some food. I'm surprised he wasn't in lockdown, but probably because he was a worker, he was doing something or other, right?
Yeah.
你喝多了是吧？你什么意思了？你让俺录行不行？你靠边好不好？
The driver's like, what's wrong with you? You know,
also said-
are you
asked him if
drunk?
he was drunk,
Yeah,
yeah.
you're drunk. What are you doing standing here in the road? And he's like, no, I'm starving. Like, you know, I need something to eat. Yeah.
你靠边，我过去好吧？拜拜。
So they drive off and kind of like, get out of here, we're out of here. But then I guess like maybe his conscience kicked in or something. So he stopped the truck and he's like, okay, fine, here, have something to eat. So he's actually like, if you understand Chinese, he says, Ursula, you know, so I'm starving to death is what he's saying.
吃不着饭怎么弄啊？
好，
你没有吃的吗？
谢谢
不是
谢
你没有吃的吗？
谢。
这拿冰啊？你没有吃的吗？
饿死了，这我这不是。
俺走了啊！没有吃的就说啊。
So actually, I want to okay, for the
Yeah.
listeners out there. So they give him some bananas
And
they give him some crackers, and he cries, right? And it's genuine tears.
He's
like,
genuinely crying.
It made me
you
pretty
know?
emotional
Yeah.
when I saw this. I was like, this is, and you know what I saw this video as? I saw this as a massive, like, this is good.
Yeah.
I said, this is just a feel-good thing. Like,
It is.
he's in a horrible, dire situation. It is caused by the government, but people can watch this video and say, you know what, there's good in this world. People
Yeah.
did the right thing.
Yeah.
They changed their mind halfway through and like, you know what, let's give this guy some food, and it changed his life. Right?
Yeah.
Now,
Saved him in a bad situation.
what
Yeah.
do you think the Chinese government's response to this was?
Well, you see, the problem is that this video kind of went viral.
Yeah.
Okay, and it started to be posted around, especially amongst, you know, the expats and the people living in,
Sure.
and just the people in lockdown in Shanghai, they're locals too. And they all identify it as being Shanghai. So it's not like they can say, oh, this is some random rural town or something. This is actually in a big part of Shanghai.
Yeah, and by the way, this is
roads-
not propaganda.
No, it's
like
not.
feel-good
No, no.
propaganda. This is genuine.
So because it goes viral and it starts getting passed around, 2 days later, the local government
老师傅，在路边上，路中间
tracked him down. Okay? And this is the article that they wrote about him. So the Shanghai Daily, okay?
You might know this paper, by the way, the Shanghai Daily / magazine, whatever. It's a state outlet
Yeah.
for having some of the shills as employees.
Yeah, they do. They said, okay, a man begging drivers passing by for food in the middle of a road in outlying Qingpu district was actually drunk, according to the city's official rumor debunking platform. Okay?
I mean, the Chinese government just hates its own people.
Yeah. So look, this is the actual article. They say starving to death in quotation marks. Starving to death beggar was intoxicated. Okay? So they're smearing this guy. They're vilifying him. All right? Like
They tracked him down
did
did an expose article for
So-
this feel-good video.
we're actually going to read this article out for you because you have to understand how they did. So they said a video circulating online on the afternoon of May 1st showed a man standing in the middle of, Huangqingping Highway near a gas station.
Hu Jinping.
Hu Jinping, sorry, it's like the text really small from here. says a man begging drivers passing by for food in the middle of the road in outlying Qingpu district was actually drunk, according to the city's official rumor debunking platform.
Remember the rumor thing that we've told you guys about? It's this kind of extremely broad law that can cover anything.
Yeah.
Right? Debunking rumors, like a rumor is illegal.
Yeah.
Right.
So then he says the man was standing, blah, blah, blah. He told passers-by he was starving to death and received bananas and cookies. The local village committee found the 48-year-old man, surnamed Wang, so they dox him.
By the way, he looked a hell of a lot older than
He looks,
48.
that dude's not 48.
Oh, come on.
Maybe 58.
Yeah.
You know.
Maybe 68.
It's possible.
Anyway.
But anyway, the fact that they go out there and they name and shame him, okay,
Yeah.
surnamed Wang, 2 days later, he was temporarily hired together with his wife by a nearby supplies guarantee company. Wang confessed to having drunk too much wine and baijiu, Chinese white liquor, during lunch that day and has no recollection of what transpired afterwards. He was later brought home by his wife and said he regrets what happened. Okay, so number one, they dox him and they vilify him. Oh, he was just drunk. And then they make him say that he regrets what happened. Now, dude, first of all, even if the guy was drunk, okay, let's just say, let's say he was drunk.
Yeah.
Okay, let's say he was drunk. He's still obviously bloody starving.
Yeah.
Why else would you step out in front of traffic to ask people for food?
Right.
You wouldn't do that. That's
No.
not something a drunk person does.
No.
A drunk person, might do stupid antics or whatever, but you're not going to be like, oh, you know what? I'm going to go out there and stand around and just cause a ruckus and make China look bad by asking for food.
More likely, he was a dude that didn't get any freaking food stipend.
Yeah, of
And he
course.
was hungry, like all the other. The thing is, you got to look at it from facts.
Yeah.
Take the alcohol away; it doesn't even matter.
Yeah.
A huge chunk of people that we have spoken to have told us that they're not getting food deliveries, they're hungry, and some of the people without, like you said, without hookahs, like working class people, didn't get anything.
Nothing.
So we're talking
Yeah.
about over a month now.
Yeah.
Of course they're freaking hungry.
Yeah.
Right? But the thing is, this could have been a feel-good video about these dabai, these big whites, what do they call them?
Yeah, dabai.
The medical personnel.
Yeah, that's
Giving him stuff because they felt nice. That could have been a great, nice, feel-good video that
it's
could run its
good
course.
soft power. People could think, look, there's humanity happening in this situation.
It's not allowed because
No.
what that shows is that the government's efforts in trying to get food to people didn't work.
Yeah.
Because it didn't. It was
It
a
shows
failure.
it shows a big failure, and it's
Yeah.
just disgusting that they make. Well, first of all, they bring his wife into it as well. Say where they work, say what they do, what his surname is, and that he was drunk and that he regrets it.
Yeah.
They have
By the
to
way,
make him say he regrets it.
Yes.
So-
Alcohol has calories, by the way. So it's good to have something.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, I
anyway,
mean,
it doesn't
also-
matter. I take that out of there.
I mean, why would anyone? I just got to say, why would anyone regret asking for food and getting food?
Yeah, I wish I hadn't done that. Oh, by the way, I don't have any food. I really regret asking for it and getting it.
Yeah, even if you were drunk and you were hungry
Yeah.
and you asked hungry enough to stand in front of a truck.
And then cry when you got
yeah,
bananas.
and then cry. Yeah, and then now you regret that.
Yeah.
Come on,
I
guys.
deeply regret that. It's such a setup. It's not even funny.
Yeah, that's something that you have to understand. And I made a Twitter post about this. And what I said is that the Chinese government doesn't serve the people. The people serve the government. They have no choice, and they use the people. They don't serve the people. They use the people. And
Yeah.
if they're not useful to them, then they just cast aside.
Right.
It's ridiculous how they could vilify this man. Anyway,
Yeah.
that's the Chinese government for you in action right
Yeah.
there. So, we like to keep an eye on the Chinese government propaganda efforts on YouTube.
This is my gig. I
yeah.
love this.
So go for it.
Okay, so Winston and I like you said, we keep an eye on these propaganda channels and in an effort to get them labeled correctly as
Sure.
state media, right?
Yeah.
And the problem is that state media has found a loophole
Yeah.
with YouTube in particular. Twitter doesn't usually let this go.
Sure.
They're pretty good. But YouTube basically doesn't label smaller state media channels because there's not enough evidence that they're state media, right? So this is one of them. This is called an amplifier channel in that it literally only posts state media from pretty much one source.
Yeah, from
This is
Rinmen
People's
Wang.
Daily,
Yeah.
right? Or People's, yeah.
It is. It's People's Daily
Internet
online.
version.
Yeah,
I'm
People's
just-
Daily
In
online.
my mind is speaking Chinese, but
Yeah,
I
Rinmen
can't get
Wang,
it out.
yeah.
Anyway, the People's Daily online, this is their amplifier channel. It's a channel set up to put out the exact same content out.
Yeah.
But then not have the state label. So then that they don't have to have people look at that and be like, oh, that's not organic content, right?
Sure.
And this was one we've been following for ages. Now, they usually get about, honestly, like 50 to 100 views on a lot of these videos, which is nothing.
They've got the genocide denial propaganda,
Yeah.
the whole Xinjiang tours and all that crap on here as well. So, you know,
But
it's
I'm
just
saying they're-
state media.
Yeah, but they're not big.
Yeah.
But it always offends me because I'll see something on there do really well unnaturally.
Sure.
It'll just out of nowhere, right? And we found a new effort, a new propaganda effort.
Oh, this is hilarious. We got to show you this.
Yeah, but what I want to show you here is that look at the About page. It says, "We Are China is a channel focusing video content all about China, the people, and the socioeconomic development presented by People's Daily China. This channel provides viewers with some of the most engaging, interesting videos available online." It literally links to People's,
People's Daily Online.
It says what it is, and
Yeah.
YouTube won't give it a state label. So guys out there, find a way.
Please.
I mean, this is just outlandish that a state media channel doesn't have a state media label.
You know, I'm looking at that banner of theirs, and they've got like a high-speed train, and they've got that that thingy in Beijing.
Yeah.
We went to that whatever
Forbidden thing.
summer palace
Summer
thingy,
palace,
whatever the hell that thing
whatever.
is, the Great Wall Pandas.
Yeah.
That thing on the far right, I think it's supposed to be a scroll or something, is it? But it
I guess.
kind of looks like a CCTV camera if you look at it in a certain way.
It does.
Anyway, the fact of the matter is, this is People's Daily Online. This is state media, but it's not labeled as such.
Yes.
Okay, and they've been putting out this campaign that we both found very interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
I just wanted to show you. So some of these videos have 80 views.
Yes.
And then all of a sudden, this one that you're about to bring up, all these have 20 to 50, 70,000 views.
Right. But
It's
they're
weird.
they're part of a new propaganda push, which is kind of bizarre. So we thought we'd show that to you
Actually,
quickly.
mostly- Yeah, 20 to 50,000.
Yeah. So let's see when it comes up. Which will, yeah. Okay. It's called Reading with Xi Jinping. Okay.
Yes.
All right. So let's just play a little clip, then we'll explain to you exactly what's going on.
Es soll das meistgelesene Werk in der deutschen Literatur sein. Goethes Faust. Ich habe ihn gelesen und ihr bestimmt auch.
Okay, what we got here is a woman reading, a German woman reading Faust, you know,
Yeah.
which you're going to wonder why. Why is she reading a random book when this is about Xi Jinping? Well, you're going to find out that, first of all, this woman is, her name's Anna, I guess.
Well, yeah, Anne Marie Lee.
So, but she's also part of this whole genocide denial.
Well, she works for People's Daily.
Yeah, so like here, we can show you.
This is the same channel. Yeah, they sent her to Xinjiang.
Yeah.
Hi, I am Anna. Welcome to Anna in Xinjiang. Today I'm at the ancient city of Kashgar, and this is the opening event. Let's dance.
Yeah, so you get the idea. These are just, you know, again,
We'll play it a little more because you'll see where she is.
Oh, yeah.
The classic genocide denial gate.
of
The
course.
AAAA
Yep, doing the dance.
Kashgar thing. And this
Yeah.
the classic old man's in the back.
Yeah, the guy they keep using. If you've watched, I did a thing called China's Genocide Theme
Yeah.
Park. You can find out all about this nonsense. But, you know, why is this important? Well, it's not just her, okay? They're all doing this reading with Xi Jinping thing. I'll show you.
我最大的爱好。
And it all stems from this. Okay?
Yeah, so I went back to CGTN, which is another state outlet.
Yeah.
And they're reposting like interviews from like old, like 2003. Some of them are 2013. This one's 2013.
Yeah, but this is a recent post.
Yeah, but I'm saying the
Yeah, it
interview's
is.
not,
Yeah, the
right? So they're
interview's not.
refreshing these old interviews they did with Xi Jinping about how smart he is and how much he loves to read.
Yes.
And we're like, what in the hell is going on?
Well, we figured it out because lately there's been a lot of speculation as to, you know, how smart Xi Jinping actually is.
Yeah,
Because
it's
people are
been going around.
People are like looking at his grammar and the way he
Yeah.
speaks, and a lot of people are like, "Look, this dude's pretty dumb."
Right.
And no joke, like that's what people are saying.
Yeah.
Obviously.
Chinese people as well.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like
Yeah.
Chinese people, not
Yeah.
not
Obviously,
just.
yeah.
People are actually starting to question how smart he really is.
Sure.
You know,
Not
because
due to not just policy, but like you said, it's grammar. and
yeah,
things
just
like
just
that.
the way he speaks and stuff. So this is obviously an attempt for them to, how can we say, like augment his image,
Yeah,
make him
some
look
people are
smarter.
confused. They're like, why is this from 2013? The video you're seeing is from like last week or something.
Yeah, the one that we showed before with the reading. We're going to get into that. So let's just play this clip. It'll be easier to explain.
This video too is from last week.
Yeah, this was posted last week, even though the interview is from 2013.
Yeah.
就是读书。读书已经成为自己的一种
So
生
for
活
the
方
listeners, he
式。
says, I love reading. It's basically my favorite hobby.
Yeah, it's a big
become
part of
life.
my life, yeah.
读各类书。
Reading all kinds of books.
I read all kinds of books.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
I think it's a lifelong hobby.
Yeah.
我想这是一个终身的爱好。
And then it goes on. I took out the audio here, but you can play
Okay.
it. It's basically goes on, and a foreigner, like an English speaker, says like Xi Jinping loves reading. He's so smart, blah blah blah. And they go through all these old speeches that he has about how he's always had a book in his hand, and he
Yeah.
quotes this. and
He
reads
carries
this.
like a thesaurus or whatever with
yeah,
him.
yeah. He carries like a dictionary and a thesaurus
Yeah.
or whatever, and then he recites the
A
words.
dictionary of idiom.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. A concise dictionary of philosophy.
I would recite one word and its meaning,
And then hoe the field.
and then hoe the field. It's such Mao era propaganda.
Yeah.
Anyway, the thing is, like, it's unbelievable because they're trying to. It's so transparent. Like,
Yeah.
it took 10 minutes of critical thinking for us to
Yeah.
say, like, why. You always have to look at Chinese propaganda, what they're currently doing, and then think about why they would be doing that. And there is so. If you go on the Chinese internet before it gets scrubbed, obviously,
Sure.
there's a lot of dialogue and secret messages, basically about questioning the intelligence of their leader because they're like, number one, the COVID policies are absolutely ridiculous now.
Sure.
The rest of the world's moved on, and China looks like it's kind of fake. Then they look at maps of shipments being held, and they look at how poor the leadership is right now,
Yeah.
and they're like, you know what? Maybe this this dude isn't as good as we thought.
Sure.
And then they start to question other things, like, well, if he was really a pig farmer, then why was he a princeling millionaire?
Sure.
Right? If he was really this well-educated dude, then why are you trying to portray him as some countryside guy? There's too much
Yeah.
conflicting stuff.
Yeah.
So then people start to ask too many questions. Hey, maybe he wasn't that smart.
Yeah.
So then Winston and I, we've just seen this barrage
It's
of
crazy.
propaganda bringing up old things like how he's so smart and so well-read. And actually, there's this whole thing they've started.
So what they've done now is they've found, I guess we can say they're just like foreign, white monkeys or whatever, from various different countries. Strangely enough, not from America or any of the Five Eyes countries. We've noticed no Australians, no anything like that.
This is on purpose,
Yeah.
and they're trying to divorce themselves with the Five Eyes kind of area, and they're trying to prop up countries that kind of like China more.
So what they've got is all these different foreigners. We'll play a couple here.
Seguramente habrás oído hablar de este Don Quijote que tengo en mi mano.
This guy is
Spain, he's reading Don Quixote.
and he's reading Don Quixote because basically Xi Jinping obviously published a list of books that he really likes.
Yes.
So at least that's
what
what
it
we're
looks
guessing.
like,
At
yeah.
least what the government did it, right?
Yeah.
So now these different foreigners from different countries are like, I'm going to read along with Xi Jinping. Let's
With
talk
his
about
favorite books.
let's talk about his favorite book, Don Quixote.
Yeah.
For instance, this guy. So what do we got next?
В руках я держу настоящий шедевр литературы.
This is a Russian
I should
one.
probably get us out of here so people
Yeah.
can actually see it. So I'll rewind that a little bit so for those of you watching.
What a surprise they'd have
Seguramente
Russia.
habrás oído hablar de este Don Quijote que tengo en mi mano.
В руках я держу настоящий шедевр литературного творчества.
You don't. I mean, listeners don't really need to know what they're saying.
Right?
Роман «Что делать?».
源氏物語は日本文学史上最高の傑
The Tale of Genji from Japan.
作と言われており
إنه كتاب ألف ليلة
And Arabian Nights,
وليلة
From
درة
the Arabic
الأدب
world.
العربي.
Es soll das meistgelesene Werk in der deutschen Literatur sein.
Yeah.
Goethes
Anna from Xinjiang Genocide Denial Propaganda is reading Faust.
Faust.
La lecture de livres étrangers est une caractéristique
And notice, this is what I found fascinating. This is what
What's
you
that?
guys should pay attention to. The presenter here for Renmin Wang, what is it? People's Daily Internet version.
Online.
So
People's
it's
Daily Online.
Yeah, People's Daily Online. The Chinese presenter for this, the hostess, is not coming out to speak English.
No.
She's coming out speaking French.
Yeah, the Chinese presenter.
Yeah, that's what I'm sorry. That's what I mean to say. The Chinese presenter comes out. Usually it will be in English because it's for a foreign audience to be like, look how smart Xi Jinping is.
Yeah. Well, I mean, look, if you look at the subtitles there, it's like Renmin Wang Fa
Wen,
Ban. So it means she's from the French.
Correct. But you understand they usually wouldn't highlight, they would highlight the majority language people. They would put the English, like the best, prettiest English speaker out there normally for this kind of stuff. And you're seeing a shift in them promoting non-English, non-Five Eyes stuff.
No, I think what happened here is that they approached like a French dude and asked him to do this, and he was like, piss off. Seriously, French can be like that.
I think they could have found someone. They found a German.
Yeah, that's true. But I mean,
They found people from all around the world.
Yeah, it's true. Anyway, I just feel like I'm going to give the French this one tick and say, like,
Sure.
they actually were like, piss off, ha ha ha, you know what I mean?
You go after, it's crazy. You go after like Ireland and you go after all these countries, but you don't go after France. It's interesting.
Why should I? France
No,
is awesome.
I like France too. But,
Yeah, no,
just surprised.
I don't go after Ireland either. It's just leprechauns and potatoes and shit, and four-leaf clovers or something, and a pot of gold at the end of a rainbow. Okay, that's all I go
Anyway,
after. Yeah,
the analysis we're trying to get at here is that I think you have to admit I'm at least somewhat correct here.
sure.
There's
I mean,
definitely a
the
shift
fact of the
away
matter
from
is
that.
they had to find a French-speaking person. And if you look at all the other people, they all work for the People's Daily online.
Yes.
All these foreigners that
The majority,
they've used,
majority.
from what all the subtitles say. So she's just the French connection in this, in this particular situation. And since they didn't have a foreign Frenchie, they had to get a French-speaking Chinese person. And I still think that guy was sitting there with the beret, and it's like.
I'm going to agree to disagree.
He's
think
like, peace off.
I think there's something. I think there's something more to this because the point of her is to be a narrator. She's not one of the foreign readers. She's coming to introduce the show.
Let's see. Yeah, maybe you're right.
See, she's the Chinese person that her job is to introduce Xi Jinping. I think I'm right, dude.
I don't know, man, because look, they're all introducing it. Look, the Russians
No, you're
now
right.
saying...
You're right about that.
But
I do think it has something to do with it moving away from...
It's definitely moving away from that. But I still think they only used the Chinese French speaker because no French guy did it. Or they didn't have one on retainer.
The thing about my theory is that it's easier to prove than yours because yours relies on this fake Frenchman on this baguette pedestal.
Oh, but look, they did have the... They do. Do you see? You're talking nonsense. Because look here, this woman over here is like.
Let's see.
Yeah, listen.
She was captivated by the descriptions.
No, I'm saying.
Look, she's the
native
English
speakers.
speaking.
I'm saying native speakers. I'm saying the person that came out to introduce Xi Jinping was not an English speaker this time, and that's something they would normally have done.
Neither was the Russian, who also introduced where they like to read in this place and that. They will just have their own role to play.
Okay, fair enough. Either way, we're definitely correct about this. I think we're definitely correct about this reading thing.
That's ridiculous. So this is just a propaganda push to say that Xi Jinping is a smart man who likes to read a lot.
Yes.
That's really the be-all and the end of all it. We don't really need to look any
I know.
further. It's just interesting that they're trying to get all these different foreigners
definitely
to
Belt
come
and
in.
Road. It's that kind of vibe. It's like countries that didn't shun China.
Yeah.
Right.
Like, who else do we have here?
They didn't get People's Daily America. You know what I mean?
No.
It's not like that.
40 Jahre später erinnert sich noch bei seinem Deutschland.
Okay, yes.
Yeah, we already had.
Blah, blah, blah.
Japanese.
Japanese.
Then we had
This
dude.
guy's from...
Swahili, okay.
Yeah, in Swahili.
So he speaks in Swahili, he's not speaking English.
Yeah.
mbalimbali zilizoandikwa na baba wa taifa la Tanzania Julius Kambarage Nyerere.
From Tanzania.
Tangu kuanzishwa kwa
Tanzania.
nchi huru ya Tanganyika na baadaye Jamhuri ya Muungano wa Tanzania.
People's Daily, the Swahili branch. It's
Yeah.
basically all their little infiltrations around the world,
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, we wanted to. I
Matteo.
don't want to. I don't know how I feel about this. I'm not going to get down on someone's appearance, but it kind of.
This is the Italian guy, He does look like someone you wouldn't want to meet
La
in
grande
dark
storia
alley.
degli incontri tra Oriente e Occidente, un
I'm
nuovo
saying.
capitolo per l'amicizia tra Roma
yeah.
e Regino.
I don't always want to have to
Venne
save
pubblicato sul
you.
Corriere della
No, you don't have to. I'm just being honest.
Menzionò l'opera archeologica Italia e Cina.
I feel like he'll
enfatizzando
stab you in the ribs with a stiletto or something.
This guy went straight up with the propaganda about how Italy and China are deep friends and stuff. Remember when China backstabbed Italy during the pandemic?
Of course. Anyway, who else? We've got a Kazakh over here. We've got a Portuguese woman over here.
De dezembro de 2018,
Yeah, from Brazil.
na véspera da sua visita de estado a Portugal, o presidente
What if she's from Portugal?
esta
That could be.
passagem.
I'm just assuming because they are trying to get in Brazil real bad.
It's probably Brazil. And who else? She's probably Korean, right?
Go keep going.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, she's Korean. Yeah.
Korean.
Now that there's the Frenchie
French
again.
one. Who's this dude?
This guy is from the
he's
Faoan.
Faoan.
Oh,
He's
they did
French.
find a French guy.
I told you.
Well, then what's going on here?
C'est votre âme que je vous achète.
I knew it. France
Right.
does not escape from this.
He doesn't represent French people. You know, where's his...
What is with
where's
you
his,
taking France's side today?
I don't know.
You don't have French in you, right?
No.
No.
No. My first girlfriend was French, but that's about
Oh, there we go.
No, it's got
There
nothing to
we
do with that. It's
go.
got nothing to do with that.
Still remembering the good days.
Huh. Anyway. Anyway, that's the thing.
Anyway, we get the point. Now,
What is Shiban? Like Western? Whatever, it doesn't matter. We've basically got all these people from all over the world reading with Xi Jinping, and that's their new thing. Okay. And that's pretty much what's new.
that is it was one of those things where we want to point out when the propaganda is going a certain direction.
Yeah.
Right. And when you see it out there, you kind of get lost in it. But mostly, we really want to focus on the fact that the Chinese government's using these amplifier channels without getting labeled, and then people can go out there and see them, and we think they're being artificially boosted.
Sure.
Because you don't have videos that get 80 views, and then the next one gets 48,000.
No, sure, of
It
course.
doesn't make any sense, right?
Look, it's very, very much proven that the Chinese Communist Party will boost certain videos, and they will put money into, and they will also, get the people that work for them to go out and,
Sure.
share out certain videos, give them thumbs up, and so on.
But I think the important takeaway here is that when they do these subtle things, when there's some sort of thing they're trying to combat, and that's definitely the rumor that's going around that Xi Jinping's not very smart.
Yeah,
It's definitely
exactly.
that. It's got to be that. I mean, what else is the point to dredge up old 20-year interviews about this?
Yeah, it is. It's kind of bizarre. Anyway, let's answer some super chats before we move into our main topic today, which, of course, is why you clicked on this, the whole soft power hour. We have some fascinating stuff to talk about.
Yes.
So what do we got?
Anthony Saints, thank you very much.
Thank you for your generosity.
David Brooks, have you guys met any famous celebrities at all? Other YouTubers for sure.
I bumped into Mr. Bean when I was in England when I was like 15 years old.
The real one or an impersonator?
No, the real guy.
Oh, that's cool.
I was staying on a farm that was next to his.
Oh, that's neat.
It's called Waterperry Estate, and he drove in and asked for directions.
Oh.
Yeah.
Of his own area.
He was asking, I don't know if he was like, but he came in and he asked for directions. Like, how do I get to XYZ from here? So.
I just thought it would be weird to ask directions next to your own house.
No, you don't understand. It was a massive estate. He was probably coming in to go to somewhere in that, because that estate did...
directions like in the...
Yeah. That estate, they did like, what do you call that stuff? Like nursery? They had plants and, they had greenhouses.
And stuff.
So he's probably coming to get something.
Makes sense, yeah.
So, yeah.
That's cool.
It's like an old historic estate that's like hundreds of years old and all that kind of crap. It's kind of interesting.
David Brooks also asks, what concerts and rock gigs have you been to? I saw one of my favorite concerts. It's crazy. It was Weird Al. He was so fun to watch live because it's like it's not him just singing songs. Every song's a full on like play, full on presentation with audience.
Must be so much fun.
Very fun.
Yeah.
I've seen a bunch of bands though.
I've only ever been to
times,
one concert my
4 times,
entire
3 times.
life.
Oh really? What was it?
Well, in South Africa, we didn't really get international bands often. It didn't really happen much. It was very seldom. And if it was never anything that I was interested in. So I went to one called Diary of Dreams.
Oh, I know about that band. You showed me that.
Yeah.
Some goth thing.
Yeah, it was a goth thing.
Yeah.
It was very interesting.
Actually, it's funny. I saw this. It was like, those old news reports from the 90s where they teach you about stuff. It'd be like, next on Hardline. Or whatever. And it's like, we're going to expose what teens are getting involved in. And it was about the goth scene in the 90s. And it was they're like, I put on this makeup to show the internet.
No, it's nothing like that. South African goth scene is very different.
Okay.
But it was annoying because, I remember they had like a kind of a famous DJ be the MC from Radio 5, which was like the hip channel. And he came on, I remember, to like introduce him and stuff. And at the end he was like, all right, everybody ready for an encore? And nobody said yes. But they still did play again. And everyone was like, because like we kind of used to have a nickname for them, Diarrhea of Dreams, because their songs are all the same.
That sounds apt.
But it was more about like going there with your mates and having fun and getting drunk.
Shaze, why don't you move on? He said, for F's sakes, move on.
Yeah, sure.
Whatever. No, I'm not capitulating. I'm reading another one.
Yeah.
Free speech respecter. Does Merman eat Smurman. Eat sushi. I love sushi, absolutely.
It's great.
And then one more, David Brooks. How was ancient China or Genghis Khan taught to kids? Well, it's called the Yuan Dynasty. And the Yuan Dynasty is when Mongolia conquered the world,
Yes.
including China. And China, the Chinese government teaches that as it was actually just a Chinese dynasty.
Yes, it was just part of China.
Yeah. Which
Anyway.
is very interesting.
It's ridiculous. Anyway, we're going to move on to our main segment here, guys, which is Soft Power Hour, where we talk about how the Chinese government is changing your mind and using your own ways against you. And it's very, very apt in this episode. This is very important.
About soft power.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
So anyway, let's take a look. What you're seeing behind you, we're going to play a little clip, okay? Then we'll talk about it.
Meet John Kevin, Global Talent Partner at VPass Solutions.
I think we have to set this up. This guy added a Uyghur activist on LinkedIn.
Yes.
Okay? Now, you might notice this, and we actually have asked you guys before, but if you ever follow us, for instance, on Twitter or something like that, do you suddenly get followed by random accounts? You know? Because what's happened here is this guy added a Uyghur activist, and almost immediately random people started to follow him. Now, let's see the kind of people that were following him.
Oh, MS, BS, Project Management Certificate, managed over 13 projects. Wow. Wow, Solar City for 10 years. Recruitment specialist. Oh, and Columbia and Shanghai Jiaotong University. What a guy. What a guy. Now let's meet this other guy, Benson. Wow, he wants to connect too. Oh, wow, MS, BS. Oh, Solar City, 10 years, 5 months. Wow, also talented. Recruitment specialist, Columbia, Shanghai Jiaotong University. Wow, multi-talented. And now let's meet Chen Kevin, Senior Director, MSBS Project Management Certificate, PMI. Solar City for 10 years and 5 months? Oh my God, the talent recruitment specialist, Columbia University, Shanghai Jiaotong University?
Now,
yeah,
let's explain this. So basically, if you guys couldn't hear that clearly or whatever, this guy followed a Uyghur activist on LinkedIn, and he immediately gets followed by accounts that have the exact same background.
Exactly the same. So it's basically
They worked
copy
at
and
Solar
paste.
City.
Yeah.
They went to Shanghai Jiaotong University, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, this is prolific. And we've talked to multiple people that have reached out now that have been approached by Chinese agents on LinkedIn to try to recruit information from them. Yeah. Number two, other people just to harass them.
It's there to harass and to keep an eye on you.
Yes.
So basically, because he followed a Uyghur activist, he connected with a Uyghur activist on LinkedIn. These Chinese bots that are obviously working for the Chinese government, when I say bots, they're really people.
Yeah.
Okay, but they set them up. It's like fake accounts.
Yes.
And they get what sounds like credible information.
Sure.
So, but they're a bit sloppy. They're always sloppy. It's Chabador. So what they do is they pass it around. Just say you're from this and that, copy and paste this. So they join and they seem credible. If it was just one of them, you'd think that that's a credible person. You might add them.
Yes.
Then they would be able to spy on you and start to talk to you and ask you about that Uyghur dissident, or pretend like you're someone that's there to help Uyghur dissidents or something, and if you can pass on the information or whatever the case. They use all sorts of funny ways to try and sabotage that person. And the same happens with us. Like, if you follow us on Twitter, you might start to get followed by random Wu-Maos.
Oh, it might. Almost everyone.
Well, yeah,
I think
exactly.
These days, yeah.
And then they might start to, every time you try to reply to one of our tweets or something, they'll reply to you to say how wrong and racist and evil and whatever we are. It's basically just a tactic to try and silence and discredit us, and that's what they're doing.
And also to track, for data analysis, to track who's following and why. Right?
Yeah.
It's this whole thing, right? And this is how they work, is the Chinese government has this huge biggest security apparatus in the world, and they use their huge population, whether it be PLA, People's Liberation Army, people that just do it out of their own kindness of their heart, or even prisoners, because we got some leaked stuff that we're going to cover here.
Yeah. Okay. So now this is kind of important. Okay. The cyber warrior formed by the People's Liberation Army. Now this has just been leaked and translated, which is great.
So let's go through this. This is basically a very low technology PowerPoint that we're going to go through. Yeah. But basically, so here's this is in Sichuan. So this is in Western China. It's called Hanwangshan Prison. And this is a training course. What they're doing here is they're actually, these are some old photos, but again, this is leaked and translated. So these are getting prisoners and teaching them how to copy paste, teach them how to get in there and find certain topics to steer the conversation around. And this is creating farms of Wumao. So Wumao being internet trolls, right?
Now, you have to understand, China uses prisoners a lot, okay? And in very unscrupulous ways.
Garlic.
For instance, the garlic thing's massive. The reason why the rest of the world cannot compete with China's garlic industry, sounds strange, but if you look at where your garlic comes from, it's probably coming from China.
Yep.
It's because...
Don't buy Chinese garlic.
No, don't.
Slave
It's
labor.
because they force the prisoners, and it's terrible what they force them to do, to peel the garlic and prepare the garlic. Now, usually that kind of labor is expensive. Doesn't matter where you come from in the world, you have to pay someone to sit there and peel the garlic and prepare the garlic, okay? Or you have to set up very expensive machines, whatever the case, but it's an expensive exercise. But in China, it's free. Because they just force the prisoners to do it. And the prisoners are doing it with their teeth, their hands. And because it does bad things to you over time, they're getting injuries from doing this. You know, it really messes them up. But they're forced to do it. And they have no say because they're prisoners, right? So they use prisoners to do things like that, like prepare garlic and stuff. And they also use prisoners to go on the internet and act as China's cyber warriors, so to speak, to go and attack people like me and people like Lao 86 and people like you as well, if you have an opinion they don't like.
Right.
So
it's not just garlic slavery; it's internet slavery as well.
And that's the thing. It's really kind of a shitty thing to do, to force prisoners to do anything, really. But China's very good at forcing prisoners to do terrible things, and this just being one of them.
Yeah.
And of course, they do pay people to do this as well outside of the prisons.
Not in the prison, obviously.
No, but in the prison, they do it for free.
Slave
obviously.
labor, and they've actually they've used prisoners in the past to do gold farming and MMORPGs. So remember World of Warcraft in its heyday, they would make prisoners farm gold.
Yeah.
So if you were playing, you could technically be running into Chinese prisoners farming that gold.
I got to be honest, if I was a prisoner, that'd be something I'd want to do. At least you get to play a game.
Yeah, but the problem is because it wasn't as grueling as forced labor, they would make them do it for like 20 hours at a time, right? So,
terrible, yeah.
Anyway, so this second one's at Ningbo Education. So that's near Shanghai, actually.
Yeah, so these are separate places.
Ningbo Education, this is the CCP construction network for cyber warriors. The next one is the appointment ceremony of the core cyber warriors and the report of the experts in response to public opinion situation. That translates to basically guiding the public opinion online.
Yes.
So remember, China doesn't just block stuff with a firewall. They guide the opinion. So not just in English, but also in Chinese. If someone's talking about Peng Shuai, remember the tennis player, the sexual harassment case, they'll send thousands of people in to guide or upvote certain comments, downvote certain comments, and then also say, if you really think about it, blah, 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 and try to coerce the situation.
Yeah, and of course, that's how they take over things like Quora, etc.
Correct, yes, which they have successfully done. Yeah. The opening ceremony of the Cyber Warrior Training Class of Xinjiang Agricultural University, so they're doing this within university as well. Now, some of these are very old pictures, but what we're seeing now is actually some follow-up information. So go to the next. Go to the next slide on this PPT.
Yeah, wonderful PPT. Let's do it.
So here, this is more important. Now, this is much more recent. This is from 2017.
Yeah.
But this is very rare to see this kind of information.
Yeah, it usually doesn't leak out.
No, it doesn't get leaked. But this is being leaked and translated, which is great. This is the China Railway Construction 2017 New Media Business and Cyber Warrior Training Course. How to manipulate consciousness, the 4 basic methods. And they actually go through how they create a Wumao. So you guys, you know what a Wumao is, the paid internet troll from China. They go in, they say things like F your mom or something like this. And then the more nuanced ones will be like, oh yeah, what about whatever?
Yeah, well, what about America? Yeah, well, they'll do things like, I really used to like your videos,
but we've seen them shift over time.
They go all over the place.
It's weird to see an official playbook translated for 4 principles. And we're going to go through these, how they create these trolls.
Yeah. So number 1, limit your knowledge of the world. Close your 5 senses. Limiting the perception of awareness of the 5 senses makes you deaf, blind, insensitive, and pedantic. Deaf to external things. So in other words, like if someone's speaking logic to you, just ignore it. What about number 2?
Number 2 says, pleasure is likened to wine, making you drunk every day. Destroy the moral values and beliefs of the Chinese people. Let them indulge themselves, have fun in time, and indulge in sensuality and material pleasures. It occupies all your time.
Okay, use fear as a knife at the people. The CCP uses its control over social material and wealth. The deprivation of work rights, the deprivation of pensions, and pensions and pensions. Why does it say that twice?
It's not a great translation.
No. The use of coercion and torture, the use of labor camps, brainwashing centers, and re-education centers, torture, live organ harvesting, assassination and massacres, and the dictatorship machines range from the armed police, urban management, in Chaoyang district, the police and legal committee, and the 610 office, etc.
Example. So for you guys, if you're confused, these headings here are are on the board. They're teaching to people, and these things below are explanations of how this works. The last one, I can't read it because there we go.
Oh, there it is.
The CCP puts a label on you. You cannot forget this fear. The CCP puts a label on you, inciting the masses to fight and scold you, so that you cannot forget this fear.
Yeah.
So getting people to mass attack, basically.
Yeah.
Are some of the principles. Now,
this is what they're talking about when it comes to attacking domestic people in China, obviously, for those of you who are confused, because it shows you how they can control people, okay, what they can do to coerce people. So go after their money, go after their work rights, deprive their pensions, that type of thing.
Yeah.
And, of course, put a label, make sure that they never forget, and that the people, basically name and shame them, because that works very well in China. Yeah.
That's correct, yeah.
Okay, next.
So this actually we thought was apt to. We don't know if this is it's not state media necessarily, but this is a nationalist account, like a pretty well-known nationalist account.
Yeah.
On Twitter, and what he was posting was these responses to make a battle manual for people to go out there and combat narratives, right?
Yes.
So, for example, it'll give you something that people tend to say about the Chinese government and what you should reply with. And this can be copy-paste. This can be like your own version of it. But this is how you can shut down any argument about the Chinese government. Yeah. So it's like almost admitting that these problems are real and the arguments that people are posing are real. But this is what you can, this is some special technique, magical tool to shut
exactly.
down.
So if someone comes at you with this question, like a legitimate question, this is how you deflect.
Yes.
This is what you do. So the first thing is, 1, person seeking notices type. Question: can you tell me where Liu Xiaobo, isn't it?
Supposed to be
yeah, exactly. Went. None of his family could find him, so that you could insert anyone. Do you know where Peng Shuai went, etc., etc.
Well, Liu Xiaobo, obviously we know is the Nobel Prize guy.
Yes, the guy who got disappeared.
Yeah.
So the response should be: can you tell me where these people go? Not only their family members, but even the FBI couldn't find them. If you are so fond of finding people, please help these poor children too. The FBI official website is for you. If you find any clues, please provide them immediately. Thank you.
See this? So this is like it's a deflection, and it really works on some.
By the way, for context, he's gotten a bunch of pictures of missing people, just missing people in America. You know how in America they actually report missing people, not like in China,
right?
Okay. That's the thing.
It's not like a hidden secret.
No, like if someone goes missing, you put their thing out. It's on a milk carton or whatever.
Yeah.
Have you seen this man?
Yeah.
Have you seen this girl? Or have you seen this person?
Right.
And you'll get Amber Alerts and things like that. That's something that's actually quite alien to China.
Yes.
But you see, if someone asks, where is this famous, this dissident that disappeared? His family can't find him. What you do to combat that is you say, oh yeah? Well, can you tell me where these people went? And then put missing people out there. Even the FBI can't find them. That's a deflection.
Right.
Ridiculous whataboutism crap.
Oh,
right?
Look, the Chinese actually says Chen Qiushi, which is not Liu Xiaobao.
Oh,
we're just reading the English.
Yeah, exactly.
Anyway, you get the idea.
Yeah, correct. So you could insert anyone there that's gone missing, like Peng Shuai. Then they're like, oh yeah, what about these missing people? A random ass from the FBI database or something like that. Mm-hmm. Okay, what's the next deflection tool that they have? Man, you like to put these slides as long. Okay.
So this is number 2 says, say you're a cyber warrior type. So the question is posting reduced sentences, posting to receive salary. So this is basically translates to when people insinuate that you are a Wu Mao, that you're getting paid to post propaganda online. This is what you can say back to them.
Yeah.
Why don't you say?
Yeah. The response is it illegal to use a proxy?
A VPN.
Yeah, a VPN. Am I getting my sentence reduced by breaking the law, or am I breaking the law to get legal wages?
So this literally admits, and it fits right in, that this is a prisoner, that it has to go out there and say this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And when somebody insinuates, hey, are they paying you in prison?
Yeah, or if they insinuate that you're a Wu Mao working for the Chinese government, they'll be like, using VPNs is illegal. So am I breaking the law then? You know, to go and get legal wages? How can I use illegal means to get legal wages? You see, it's this stupid mental gymnastics.
Yes.
Because obviously the prisoners and Wu Mao and the cybersecurity apparatus of China don't need a VPN. They have open internet access. That's how it works.
Yes.
Otherwise, they can't go out there.
So
and
this
attack.
is like a kind of a leaked way of saying, like, yeah, this is what you can say to them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Exactly. Yeah. I just got to do a little something here. Where was it there?
Nice. Yeah, that's exactly what that is.
Yeah. Anyway, let's see what the next one is. Which, by the way, seriously, using a VPN is illegal, in China.
Yeah.
Don't listen to anyone who tells you otherwise.
It's a talking point with like some of the shills. They pretend like it's legal, and actually it's the Chinese government's prerogative to tell people that it is legal in English.
Yes.
They don't say that to their own citizens.
No.
Because it's illegal.
Yeah, it is. Okay, here's the third one. I'll read the question. You read the answer for this one. So 3, the type of Democrats rushing you back to China. So if they say, you love China, hate foreign countries so much, why don't you go back to China? Okay, which I guess if somebody's out there saying how shitty America is and all that stuff and how great China is, and someone pipes up and says, well, if you like China so much, why don't you go back to China?
Yes, this is a way to defend people that shit on other countries.
But by the way, how many times have you had that said to you?
Yeah.
You know, you complain about anything in China, and they're like, why don't you go back to your country?
Yeah,
like, get the hell out of it. It's the first thing you get. So like, anyway, what they're trying to say is, how do you deal with that if someone says that to you?
Response is, in China, you make up lies that you cannot criticize the government and that China is not free. I go abroad and criticize the local government, but you want to drive me back to China. What are you afraid of is not that I criticize your government. What you're afraid of is that I'll expose your stupid excuses and choices.
Yeah.
So you see how this works, right?
So it's basically trying to say China has freedom of speech.
Yes.
Is what he's saying.
Well, he's also saying that you claim that China doesn't have freedom of speech, so I go to your country and I use the freedom of speech there, and now
you try to silence me. You know,
right.
you try to send me back.
That
type
is
thing. Yeah,
very much.
Yeah, it is. Absolutely. I mean, it's ridiculous how these guys operate, but it's very easy to see, and these are just the parts you'll find in the playbooks.
Put these in your toolkit, right?
Yeah,
Look
you can
out
use
for
it,
stuff like this.
You can, if you want, you can use it against the Wu Maos.
But no, what I'm saying is you can see this now.
Yeah.
You'll go out there, you see variations of these 4 things.
Correct.
Yeah.
Okay, the next one. You read the question, I'll do the answer.
It says, what did you say about the numbers don't make very much sense.
XXX case in the XX village.
What did you say about
XXX,
whatever case in whatever village in whatever year? So this is a response. So when somebody picks out a specific thing.
Yeah, if they're like, what about that chemical leak?
Or 1980.
Oh yeah, Tiananmen Square, 1989.
June 4th.
Yeah, exactly.
That's actually what they're referring to.
Probably. The response is, what happened to the Black Dahlia case? Has the Zodiac killer been caught? What did the Atlanta Rippers say at the end? You have a case that you care about, and I also have a case that I like. Halfway through our conversation, you suddenly bring up a case that I don't care about, so please help and solve the case that I care more about first, and let's continue the conversation.
What is that?
That is, of course... You know, what we're doing here again is it's all about deflection. So if someone brings up, hey, listen, what do you think about the Tiananmen Square massacre in 1989?
That's really what they're referring to.
Yeah, or whatever.
Or whatever, yeah.
The chemical leak
melamine.
The milk powder scandal that killed all those children. Yeah, whatever. If you bring that up, they're like, what about the Black Dahlia case? I mean, Black Dahlia, wasn't that from the 1800s?
When was that?
That's like black and white. Look it up. Look it up.
It's back when the world was black and white,
dude,
right?
it's back before color.
Way before color.
Yeah. That's like really
Would
old.
have been the color again? I can't even remember.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah. Black Dahlia murder case.
Yeah, it's definitely really old.
47.
Oh, it's 1947.
It was before color, though.
Okay, yeah. Should be called the black and white Dahlia. You know what I mean? Monochrome Dahlia. Anyway, the fact of the matter is, they have to freaking go back so far to bring up some random case. Obviously, he's using an example, but basically, this is classic whataboutism.
Yes.
If you say, like, what about poverty in rural China? They'll say, oh, what about the homeless people in LA?
Yeah.
It's like, rather than address the problem, they'll point fingers somewhere else.
That's
because
correct.
They can't address the problem. It's impossible. You're not allowed to talk about it in China.
I just love these because what it shows you is that they're very aware of the real criticism.
Yeah.
But it's like, it's so clinical. It's like, this is not how to participate in the dialogue. This is just what you got to say, and then they'll make that go away, and you've done your job.
Correct. Yeah. So
you know what I mean?
just copy and paste this, and you'll defeat them in the argument. You know.
And
what
then
I mean?
it's cha-ching 5 mao in your bank account.
50 cents. Yeah.
Yeah.
Ridiculous. Anyway.
So there's a conclusion here. It says, when they throw any of the above 4 types of questions in a match, they've actually lost. They say this because they have nothing to say about what you're discussing. They want to divert the subject and waste your energy.
Wait up.
I mean, that's mental gymnastics, triple gold medals in a row, standing on the podium, screw everyone else.
It's probably the only sport that China will consistently win gold in forever.
The Chinese government.
Yeah,
for
of
sure.
course. Well, China is in the Chinese government,
of
course.
Of course. Want to divert the subject and waste energy. After understanding this logic, you will know that answering them seriously is self-depleting and meaningless. Although the heart is what you say is none of my business, that's means what you mean. Yeah. On the surface, it's still necessary to use these skills to defeat the nonsense. So what this is like a coaching thing. It's like, even if you want to have a meaningful response, just don't do that. You're just going to waste your time.
Yeah.
Use these tools.
Yeah, I know. It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. And they say that, answering them seriously is self-depleting and meaningless. So in other words, don't ever tell the truth. No. Don't answer seriously. No. Anyway, it's just kind of fascinating to see some of these tactics.
Oh, it's rare that they just are so candid and this kind of stuff leaks out.
Yeah.
Which is great. But anyway, this is right along these lines as well. We've talked about the Great Translation Movement. Again, if you're new here, it's a group of Chinese dissidents or Chinese people in general that want the rest of the world to see that the Chinese government can't hide behind the language barrier.
Sure.
The stuff that they do to brainwash their citizens, they translate into English and other languages to put it out there and say, this is actually how it is, so treat them accordingly. Yeah. Treat the Chinese government accordingly.
Yeah, because the Chinese government is two-faced. Okay, what they project to the rest of the world is not what they project to the local people in China. And the discussions that happen and that are condoned and allowed to happen on the Chinese internet, the most controlled internet in the world, very much reflects exactly what the Chinese government wants.
Right.
Okay?
Correct.
So things that get popped up to the top of Weibo, big discussions that go around the Chinese internet, they are condoned by the government. Otherwise, they would be censored. Okay, it's that simple. It's black and white. There's no gray area there. And so when these things pop up and they're discussed, the Great Translation Movement translates them. And the Chinese government hates this so much.
I'm very happy to see his Chinese ox actually follows them. You see that?
Yeah, followed by Chinese ox.
Which is, I'm glad to see he's coming around. Yeah. I still think he wants
Maybe
us
he's
dead.
trying to find them.
Oh, I didn't think about that.
Anyway.
So what's going on is what Winston just explained to you is so much more important than, I don't want to say how you should think, but it's so much more important than you think, because this is the first time in all of the CCP's history that they've had to stand up to actual damning proof.
Yes.
Like, there's always been damning proof, but damning proof on such a massive scale that has been directly translated.
Yeah.
Usually it's like some quip here, some this thing here, or this protest here. This is a compilation of every bad deed translated into plain English for the whole world.
Yeah, and it started with the whole Ukraine thing, because
Right.
the way China's been so two-faced about that, trying to project to the world they don't take sides. But in domestic media and the daily news in China, it's all about supporting Russia and how bad Ukraine is and how bad the West is. And it's just out there. It's not hidden in like veiled speech.
It's used to being hidden.
Yeah, they used to people not being able to understand it. So the Great Translation Movement sprung out of the need to actually just put it out there and like, this is what they're actually saying.
So, there's a bunch of people like us out there, obviously. There's Chinese dissidents that make YouTube videos about, pro-democracy, anti-CCP stuff. There's people like us that speak out. There's people like Lila Farley that speaks out. There's a bunch of people like us out there.
Yeah.
But China never talks about us because we're blocked from the internet.
Yeah,
they don't want Chinese people to watch us or Lila or anybody like this because they don't want people to walk away with a different perspective, right?
Correct.
But let me tell you how crazy this is. In the face of all this kind of dissidence or pro-democracy or anything, they always shut it down, block it out. But this is the first time I've seen them have to address something directly.
Yeah.
We've covered this before, but on multiple outlets on Chinese state media, they are covering the Great Translation Movement directly because they're so scared of the damage that it's doing. And they ran this clip.
Yeah, we're going to show this to you in its entirety quickly, and then we'll talk about it. Let's go.
下来有请下一位观众。
三位老师好，我是来自湖南南华大学的一名大四学生。
欢迎。
那么对于此次俄乌冲突，我的观察点是，自冲突爆发以来，境外一些网军开展了所谓的大翻译运动。 把我国国内一些社交媒体上的一些极个别的极端言论翻译成了多种语言，并配以图片，在境外平台上。
万里不禁想说。
Okay, what we need to talk about though, let's go back to that quickly, is again, they're talking about foreign forces. They love foreign forces.
Yeah.
Okay, so this guy comes on as an expert, right?
Yeah.
我们接下来有请下一位观众。
三位老师好。
Okay.
我是来自
A fourth-year
He's a
student at
senior.
the Hunan Nanhua University. Okay, what does he have to
南华
say?
大学的一名大四学生。 那么对于此次俄乌冲突，我的观察点是，自冲突爆发以来。
So, since the outbreak of the war, he's talking about the Russia-Ukraine war. The cyber warriors of foreign forces.
They can't deal with the fact that the Great Translation movement is Chinese people.
Yeah, and it's Chinese people in China and Chinese people outside of China. It's like a group of people.
It is.
It's ridiculous that they have to label them as foreign forces.
They have to, because there is no way, it goes against the narrative that every single Chinese person is anti-democracy and pro-CCP.
Yeah.
They can't deal with that.
No, they can't. I just can't stand the fact that they always have to blame foreign forces. It's so dumb. We need to get a soundbite for that eventually. Yeah, we don't have anything for that right now.
Oh, by the way, those ridiculous sound effects, this is an edit someone made. They put examples like flipping it on its head in between these things, which we don't need to cover. But anyway, if you're quick, you'll pick up.
开展了所谓的大翻译运动。
So they conduct the Great Translation movement. They say these foreign forces, right? In other words, foreign cyber warriors.
So people like us, apparently.
Yeah.
We're conducting this. We have nothing to do with
Yeah,
this.
we're foreign forces,
Yeah,
by the
we
way.
are foreign forces,
Yeah,
for sure.
apparently. And then what they're doing is they're showing the headlines, because the Great Translation movement has made it into mainstream media.
Yeah, the Chinese government's trying to downplay it and say, "Oh, it's just it's just stupid little thing."
Yeah,
you know, foreign forces.
Yeah.
把我国国内
They translate.
That's my favorite quote.
Yeah, this is great. They translate extremely rare speeches in some Chinese media. Oh, sorry, so extremely rare extreme speeches in some Chinese media. Okay.
They're claiming, and this is what the Chinese government's been claiming, is that the stuff that the Great Translation movement translates are some weird, obscure, tiny little extremist viewpoints which don't represent everyone.
Yeah, which is ridiculous, because what they do is they take the most upvoted things that are on the biggest headlines on Weibo or various other things, and they translate the comments and they translate the articles. That's not extreme, that's mainstream.
They pick the top ones.
Yeah, the
and
big
to be
things.
fair, they'll also translate the top positive comments as well, so that there's balance.
They do both. But, you know, it's very simple to say. It's like, you know, whenever let's just say you're for a specific movement, okay, whatever it is, let's just say, so you're a random movement, and there's some extreme people that are attached to it that kind of ruin it for everyone else. If you're part of that movement, you'll be like, look, there are always going to be extreme violent people as part of our movement, you know, and we can't do anything about that. That's you know, you'll find that in every movement, you know, and that's usually the excuse. And they're trying to use that excuse here, but it's not a small little fringe element. It's a very big part of it. It's actually the mainstream stuff that's being translated. It's not like some extreme rare comments.
And the important thing to note from that is it's a direct symptom of what the Chinese government pushes for the xenophobia on the public.
Yeah.
It teaches the public to have these xenophobic viewpoints, and they gets really mad when they get translated.
Yeah, I know, because that's what they want.
They want both. They want to have their cake and eat it too. They want to teach their citizens to hate everyone in the whole world, and the whole world is at fault for every problem in China. And then for the rest of the world, they say, "Oh, we would never say anything like that. We want cooperation. You guys are the mean ones."
Yes.
That's what's happening.
It's exactly
here.
what they're doing.
That's
so,
what this is.
Yeah, when you teach your populace that foreign forces are the root of all of your problems, and then some people go out there and start saying racist and xenophobic things like, oh, I hate Americans and they're pieces of shit and all that. And then that gets translated and you're like, oh, they're just translating the most extreme comments.
That's
you're
what
like,
this guy
dude, you
said.
made them say that, okay? And on top of that, with the control you have over your
You can
internet,
get rid of those.
you could absolutely, anyone says anything bad that you don't like, it's removed.
Yes.
And it's not about like, oh, it's too difficult to remove. No, they can take keywords and completely scrub them from the entire Chinese internet. And they've done that multiple times.
They have.
You know, so there's no excuses here about like, oh, we overlooked some extreme comments. No, we allowed those extreme comments and we allowed them to be boosted and talked about, you know? Anyway.
社交媒体上的一些极个别的极端言论翻译成了多种语言，并配以图片， 在境外平台上。
Okay, so we got something else here, which is kind of interesting. You want to bring this in?
No, this is just part of this.
Oh, it's part of it. Okay, all right. I'll get us out of here so everyone can see.
普京想说，立陶宛你这么卖力叫嚣，你的美国爸爸看完一定很感。
进行有组织的传播，想请3位老师分析一下他们的一个手段，以及对我们有哪一些危害，我们普通网民应该如何识破呢？谢谢3位老师。
好，谢谢提问，我们也听一下2位嘉宾。
我也看到就是大翻译运动那个一些做法，那么背后是这个。
So again, here,
here's the expert teacher's opinions.
This is an expert teacher. He says the forces behind the anti-translation movement come from anti-China forces.
The Great Translation Movement.
Yeah, of course. This was, the Great Translation Movement. That's what I said.
You said anti-translation movement.
Oh, sorry. Well,
the
anti. Sorry, there's too many forces going on.
I know.
You notice that, like.
Use the
force.
You
know, you've got the Air Force, you've got the whatever.
Foreign
now
forces.
You've got the Foreign Force.
You got the Force in Star Wars.
Yeah. Anyway, the fact is, the forces behind them come from anti-China forces.
Yeah.
That's what he says. He literally says that. Okay. Let's see.
反华势力，包括这个台湾的要求。
Oh, including Taiwan.
Yeah,
right?
Taiwan's Democratic Party's
cyber warriors. Yeah.
So, by the way, they say that mainland China says that Taiwan has Wu Maos.
Yes.
And they're cyber warriors from the Democratic Party.
Yeah. It's just you can't make it up. Okay, so that they're saying it's including Taiwan. Who else?
但是某种
Oh, he says, but don't worry too much. Why? Why shouldn't we worry? I
不用
wonder.
太担心，因为他们一直在这样做的，现在只是有更多的西方势力。
Oh, now they just have
He
more
basically
support from
says like
Western
they've been doing
powers.
this for the longest time.
Yeah, yeah.
But now
No,
they got
no.
more support from Western powers.
Yeah.
的支持，第一点就是我战略上要藐视他们。哎，当我们这个祖国统一的时候，一定要好好惩罚这些幺四五零。
So he said, I'm not even joking. So this is what he says. He goes, the translation is a bit off. I'll correct it. So he says, I want to condemn like what they're doing.
But don't worry about it too much.
Don't worry about it too much. But when we invade Taiwan,
we will severely
we're
punish them.
We're going to punish these cyber warriors
yeah,
in Taiwan.
we will severely punish them when we invade Taiwan.
Yeah.
Absolute nonsense. Anyway.
Keep going.
Yeah.
解决台湾问题
Solve the Taiwan issue.
我完全
Realize the complete reunification.
这个该判罪一定要。
He said, especially core members. So they're going to basically find, when they invade Taiwan and kill everybody, they're going to find the core members of the Great Translation Movement and take them down. Assuming, by the way, that Taiwan has anything to do with this.
Yeah, which of course they don't. And even if they do, it'll be a small part. But you know what this is? This is another attempt to silence people. Look what he says. Those who deserve to be sentenced should go to jail.
That's what this is about.
Yeah. It's literally about trying to silence them.
Yeah.
They're so worried that they don't have control over these people that are translating all these articles that they have to put out threats.
Yeah.
Oh, we're gonna find you and we'll put you in jail.
Right. So when he says the Taiwan thing, that's obviously part of it. It's like deflection to say this is not coming from our country. But what he's actually saying here is that, by the way, guys, we know that you're doing this within China, and we're gonna F you up.
Sure, we'll put you in jail.
Yeah.
判罪。另外呢，就是那个我觉得
Also, we must learn to fight cyber
一
warfare.
定要就是学会互联网上打仗。
Yeah.
And
So
let me show this. Keep going. This is such projection.
Yeah.
Frankly speaking, it must rely on the people's war. So it's like the people's job to
一定
take
要
care
靠
of this.
互联网的人民战争。
Basically calling, how do you say 人人? Like
everybody rise up.
Yeah,
you
like-
have to do our job for us.
Yeah, like it's your job to also find these mother effers and take care of them. It's basically like inciting like
we need
hatred
a
and
people's
brigading.
war
Yeah.
against what do they need a people's war against here exactly? A couple of translators
Some translators that like are kind of pissed off and want
that
democracy.
are but they're just translating actual things. They're not making stuff up.
Nope.
You know,
but
that's
it's extremely rare.
Oh yeah, but they're not making stuff up. Maybe they cherry pick a little bit. Let's be honest, but like
It's definitely
it's
like
still-
top news stuff.
It is. It's top news stuff. But yeah, they need a people's war against a little pokey little group of translators. I love it. Shows you how weak the Chinese government is if this is a focus of theirs, you know?
If they're talking about it,
Yeah.
this is a big deal to them.
Yeah, let's see.
我们网络
China's
推广
internet
领域
authorities must also play an important role.
要发挥非常重要的作用，特别对这些他们
Especially the foreign forces, cyber warriors created public opinion and spread it back to China. So they're less mad about people like us.
Yeah.
And they're more mad at the people that are making the stuff here or wherever and then sending it back into China for Chinese people to read. Actually, what they're talking about is Chinese people, not even abroad.
Yeah.
They're saying people making domestic language stuff.
They just don't want the influence to come back because,
they
they're
do
so
not
good
want
at
that.
censoring certain things and they guide the narrative in a certain way. So if things are translated and people comment about it and say, look, this isn't right, what's being said and what's going on, and if it makes its way back into China, they're deathly worried about that.
Yeah, they especially don't want like a great translation movement post to get back into China and say, look at the uproar this caused in other countries.
Yeah, because it's not true.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because they say, oh, Russia's amazing
It's
and
a snowball
stuff.
effect.
Yeah.
Because then Chinese people say, well, what have I been reading then?
Yeah, because, they say NATO's been bombing this and that, which isn't true, right? And then it gets out, and the rest of the world's like, this is bullshit, and it goes on CNN or something, and then that comes back into China to basically make the Chinese government lose face because they lied to the people.
Right.
That's what they're worried about here.
So basically, we're a lot... There's a two-pronged thing here, though. They're a lot less concerned about people like us because we're not directly trying to put information back into China.
Yeah.
But at the same time, they're also blaming people like us for instigating this kind of stuff. They think that Chinese people would never do this, so foreign forces have
Must
to
be
doing
foreign
this.
forces, right?
And it might go beyond us. They might be insinuating CIA and
Of
stuff
course,
like that.
of course. Let's see what else is going on.
疫情这个反馈到中国国内的时候，我们有办法阻止。然后呢，
We want to stop and alert the Chinese. But mainly Chinese netizens have to be good at fighting them. Again, it's people's war.
自己的网民要能够要常于跟他们斗争，跟他们打仗，找到他们的破。
Fight them, find out their flaws, tease, and expose them.
Of course, expose them. It's the most cowardly thing. This is what, the Chinese government does this. It's part of their playbook. But so do the shills and other people, is they try to expose and dox people. So what they try to do is, rather than talk about the argument, they want to try and expose these people and silence them by doxing and harassing them. He says tease, but he obviously means harass.
Sure.
It's just a despicable thing. So someone says something you don't like or translates something that you don't like. Let's go and find out where his family lives.
Let's go ruin their life.
Let's go find out where his kid goes to school.
Right.
Let's go find out this and that. Let's expose them. Let's harass them. Let's find out their flaws. In other words, dig up, try to see if you can dig up any skeletons they may have in their closet that you can use against them.
Can you imagine turning on the news?
Yeah.
Turn on like nightly news at 6.
Yeah.
And they're like, today we're going to talk about the Chinese government. What we're going to want you guys to do out there is make sure you go ruin people's lives on the internet, and then they'll be too scared to post stuff. Can you imagine that coverage? That's what this is.
Yeah, it is.
The state media.
It's disgusting. What else does he say?
Sometimes you don't need to translate it in English. Just use some pictures.
Okay.
Meaning that he knows that it's Chinese people doing this.
Yeah.
I remember when Hong Kong independence and Taiwan independence forces were rampant. Again, he's speaking about these things like they're very, like the demon, like devils. We have some netizens in China, for example, Emperor Bar expedition against the Taiwanese independence won the victory. So he's saying that there was like an internet war against Taiwanese people, and they won.
Okay.
IP location.
By the way.
Yeah. Why is he in Taiwan?
It turns out that this great war that they were fighting against Taiwanese independence forces, right?
Yeah.
Why is the IP address say Taiwan, Central and Western Hong Kong District?
Yeah. Well, you know what's been very interesting is the Weibo has now got this thing that they must disclose where the person is. Okay, it's another way to try and silence people. And a lot of these accounts there have been a lot of these accounts of netizens that are supposedly in Japan or South Korea or whatever, and they talk about daily life, right?
Yes.
And they say how terrible it is compared to China.
Right.
And they found out that the IP, now that the IP is public, that all of those accounts are actually in China. They weren't ever in Japan. They weren't ever in South Korea. They would just dress up and pretend, in their apartments. Like, I went out today and the Japanese were so rude to me. China's the best place to be.
Yeah.
And then you find out actually they're just reporting from within China.
Correct.
Anyway, it's just ridiculous. Let's not digress too much.
We have some netizens in... I missed
that. That's one I just said. Chinese netizens
have... you can read.
Have wisdom. Yeah, basically... what he's talking about pictures is, remember, people were taking photos of pro-democracy activists and stuff and posting them around, and then people would try to human flesh search them.
Yeah.
Renro, which is something that they do in China. They try to find out who they are.
Yeah.
Anyone knows this person type thing. So they could harass them and dox them. Anyway, it's just a disgusting setup.
But the thing is, this, I don't want to overstate this, but that what you just saw is so important. Because they never face down actual issues that really bother them.
No.
Because they want as little attention as possible. But the Great Translation Movement has caused such damage that they have to face it head on. And they're using the exact same techniques that they think are being used on them to like shut it down. They're saying like, you have to see through this trickery. You have to see through this nonsense. When they're actually talking about posts that were posted in China already on the Chinese internet.
Yeah.
It's like Inception.
So, I mean, like, just to break it down very simply, there's discourse on the Chinese internet, which is bad, okay? They're saying terrible things. Xenophobic, racist, disgusting things about Ukraine, for instance, or whatever.
Or anywhere.
It doesn't matter. Anywhere, right? About America, it doesn't matter. The Chinese government is trying to pretend like, oh, let's be buddy-buddy and let's have trade and stuff. Meanwhile, feeding to the local press and feeding to the local people this hatred towards Japan or wherever, okay?
Yeah.
So it festers online, people start discussing it, and it shows. The people are talking about it. So someone translates it, okay, and puts it out there for people to see. This is what's being said on the Chinese internet, the most controlled internet in the world. So it's not like in America where you can have some crazy, I don't know, weird redneck Ku Klux Klan guy going and saying something. Everyone can condemn it and say, this is the crazy...
Right.
Because you're allowed to say things like that on the internet in America. But in China, you're not allowed to. You can't say anything they don't want you to say. So there it is. Look, this is what's being said on the Chinese internet. So rather than them trying to go after the racist, xenophobic, disgusting posts, the so-called extreme posts, no, they will personally hunt down and attack the translator.
Yeah.
They will go after his family. They will try to dox them, find out who they are. Take
it's so
photos,
obvious what they're doing.
Isn't it just ridiculous? So just like the shills when they go after us, how many serpents a day exposed as a racist piece of shit or whatever videos can you find out there? But not one of these videos ever address any of the things and topics that we talk about. When we say, oh, there's a problem with kidnapping in China, do we ever see somebody coming back at us saying, no, there isn't a problem with kidnapping, you're wrong about that, here's some statistics and here's some videos to show you that, from my experience, it's not true.
Correct.
No, what do you get? Oh, Serpents a Day is a racist or this or that, or, Lao 86 is this or that. And they try to destroy your character because they cannot fight against what you're talking about. They cannot fight against the truth. And when we show the truth, it bothers them. The truth is the biggest enemy of the Chinese government. It's the biggest enemy of China. And this is what's being shown. The Great Translation Movement is simply showing the truth of what's being said on the Chinese internet. They can't handle it. They have to label it as foreign forces.
They can't handle the fact that it's Chinese people doing it.
You can't handle the truth.
No.
Just like that movie from A Few Good Men or whatever it is.
Right.
With the Joker saying, Jack Nicholson going ape. Anyway.
Yeah, anyway, that's it for Soft Power Hour.
Yeah, it's Soft Power. Sorry, we went on a little bit there.
Hopefully it's informative. I hope people can put some of this stuff in their toolbox and understand what's bothering.
It's not just... We've been telling you guys this for years about how the Wu Mao behave and the bad things they do and how they go after us and that they make slander videos against us and so on and so forth in order to try and silence us. But here you can see actual proof that there's legitimate... official things happening, that there's official forces, literally, Chinese foreign forces, they are foreign to us over here, that are out there trying to change the narrative and the discourse, trying to discredit people who are speaking truth to power, and they're trying to discredit and attack anyone who criticizes the CCP abroad. And it doesn't matter who you are. And I've got a lot of examples about this. And anyone who gets involved in anything that is critical of the CCP and joins any of these protests, the Free Tibet things, or anything to do with Uyghurs, or any kind of protest, they will start to get targeted by these people. And look at that guy who just added a Uyghur dissident on LinkedIn. He started to get followed by these agents. Right? It's a real thing.
It's a real thing.
It's not some weird conspiracy.
Nope. By the way, my brand new video, go check it out. China's hunting humans abroad, is literally about that topic. In depth.
So how they send people out to go and harass and capture people overseas.
Yes.
And it's crazy. It's crazy how they've co-opted, Canadian foreigners now as well to be a part of all of this. And anyway, check it out, guys.
Yeah, thanks.
And I guess we'll answer a couple of super chats before we move on to Wu Mao Corner. Speaking of Wu Mao's.
Will Smith slapping Xi Jinping says, what advice recommendations would you guys make for getting BRI projects in one's countries to be scrapped or removed? You got to talk to your political leadership.
Look,
people.
It's always a debt trap. They never deliver
With
on
proof.
what they say.
Yeah.
They never deliver. You can just give examples of every other country where they've promised jobs and infrastructure, and the infrastructure's crap, and they don't give jobs to locals. They import all the laborers from China and stuff.
Right.
So you can just show that.
Correct.
Yeah.
David Brooks, do you know Jet Li was in Washington, D.C. in the early 70s and met Richard Nixon, and who asked if he could be his bodyguard? Jet said he had a really fun time.
Did not know that.
Michael A. Mayo, thank you very much. The English Hedgehog, great videos, interesting content. Thank you. Santa's Whiskey says, do you want me to be the count?
Oh, we actually need to make a soundbite out of that.
Yes.
I'll make it.
Brooks. Yeah. In Jet Li's bedroom, there are cameras behind the door. That's cool. Cicero JPN, how long do you think the CCP can stave off the mandate of heaven? I personally don't believe in the mandate of heaven. With Beijing
no, but they do, though.
No. Here's the deal. Yes, to a certain extent. But the Chinese government has infinite ways to retain power.
Yes.
There's not, again, I warn and caution against this weird idea that some people put out there, and other anti-CCP people put out there, that there's just one little straw snap away from collapsing entirely.
For sure. But
It's
the
just not
mandate,
case.
the whole idea of the mandate of heaven is that in past dynasties, whenever there was a big natural disaster, then it would change. Yeah, I know you get that. Obviously, you get that. Well, I'm not telling that to you. You know, you can also tie your shoelaces.
Yes.
No, the thing is, quite seriously, it's always been that there'll be a regime change. And we've seen massive disasters happening in China as of late. And a lot of people are saying that it's going to trigger the local populace to see it as a mandate of heaven and overthrow the government, or just tell them to step down type thing. But of course that's bullshit, because the Chinese government, whenever there is a mandate of heaven, which there have been many, by the way, they just censor it.
Yeah, I mean, that's
They're
my
like,
point.
guess what? Look, there was a disaster, a whole bunch of people died. Just bury them and don't tell anyone.
Right, that's what they actually do.
Come on, what about the freaking famines of Mao and stuff? The disgusting...
Or the Sichuan earthquake.
Yeah, it's terrible. All the
countless things.
All the flooding and all the COVID, for fuck's sake.
Right.
Seriously.
Well, Cesaro JPN says, with Beijing going into lockdown, it's symbolically now at the gates of the CCP, and I get that, but you have to understand that knowledge or that idea is not going to be allowed to proliferate.
Yeah, and they'll also say, don't worry, this natural disaster was caused by foreign forces.
Yes.
It's not our fault.
That's why they promote that a lot, right?
Yeah.
Anyway, let's go.
Okay, we're going to go. Let's hit Wu Mao Corner. Wu Mao Corner, where we talk about all the things the Wu Maos get up to, and we've just kind of explained to you what Wu Mao are, more or less, in the previous segment. So this is going to be interesting. It's kind of related.
It's going to be interesting.
So what do we have here posted on our subreddit?
It's also a translation movement thing, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
It says,
they're great.
Yeah, so this paper got... acquired approval, obviously, from the Chinese government to be able to publish this, as do most things.
Everything does.
Yeah.
And I got to tell you, when I was working for the rapist school, I was in charge. I actually was the headmaster there, basically. They put me in that position. I was the headmaster, and I was in charge of a lot of stuff, okay? Yeah. And one thing I wanted to do was I wanted to produce a newsletter, basically, for the students, something that would be printed, something that they could take home with them, where we could have little stories and little things, because it was all about business English and so on. That was the main focus of that place. So I thought we could put out some interesting, cool things, maybe some puzzles, and the usual kind of thing you would expect in a newsletter. And I approached the boss with this because at the time my girlfriend was a graphic designer, and we could have made something really good looking. And I said, we'll do it for free. I wanted to do it. I wanted to do it as an incentive, for the students and stuff. I want to do this. And we ended up not being able to do it because everything that's printed in an official capacity has to go through the censorship board.
Correct.
And it has to be approved. So even something as simple as printing a newsletter for our internal use in the school would have had to have gone through the censorship board.
Same thing happened in the universities I worked for. Some of the foreign teachers there wanted to collaborate with some of the Chinese teachers there to make their in-house school newsletter, and they couldn't get it passed. It had nothing bad in it whatsoever. It was the most innocuous thing you've ever seen.
It's just, they're foreigners writing this? It's in English? Nope. Piss off. Nope, not going to happen. Yeah.
Anyway, this is a newspaper for kids, grade 11 students, so we're talking 16, 17-year-olds, right? Now, most importantly about this is it's a story meant to instill nationalism and
nationalist
pride in the students.
Yeah.
You're seeing a lot of this kind of stuff nowadays, but this excerpt is quite fascinating. It says, people who read this articles can't stop themselves from being touched by the noble personality and great love for the motherland of this revolutionist who has to execute his wife by himself. So the story is about how this revolutionary in Mao's time has to kill his own wife for the party because she's like a traitor or whatever, right? And you're supposed to be touched by this because the amount of dedication that required him to kill his own wife for the party, you're supposed to teach that to the kids, and the kids are supposed to walk away with that sentiment.
Pretty disgusting, to be honest.
This, again, you want to say cherry pick or whatever, this is the kind of stuff that we're seeing en masse come out in China right now. It's nuts. I translated the entire children's textbook, the Xi Jinping thought textbook.
Yeah.
It's so bad. I don't know what's going on, but they are ramping it up to level 10, level 11.
Yeah, it's awful. It's all about being proud of the party. And, you know, there's nothing to be proud of. It's a shit party. It's done terrible things to the people.
Yeah.
It really has. It plunged China into poverty and famine and all this disgusting stuff. And it was only in the 80s when Deng Xiaoping decided to deal with the West that it actually started to improve because, you know, the West invested and helped out. And the Chinese people were finally able to actually work for themselves and bring themselves out of poverty. The party's not a good thing. Everything the party did led to disaster.
Yeah.
Absolutely. There's a disgusting government system.
Correct.
And we're starting to see it go back to that because now it's this weird thing where they have this admiration for their past as if it was a good thing. They're like, remember those good old days when we used to run around in the little revolutionary outfits and rat out our parents
and kill our grandparents
and
for being
and beat our
landlords.
teachers to death and make this place terrible that everyone starved to death. Remember that? Those were good times.
Remember
Let's
when
bring them
we
back.
melted down all the metal so we had no cooking utensils and then it caused mass starvation because we ruined all the entire wood
we stopped
resources
farming.
And we stopped farming.
Yeah. Remember that? Killed all the sparrows.
Remember when 30 to 50 million people died?
Yeah.
In a very short period of time? Those were good times.
Yeah, remember that. Let's bring them back.
Let's bring that back.
Isn't that bizarre to you? It's absolutely bizarre.
It's like the stuff that people, that's why like the Deng Xiaoping era, like the 70s and the Jiang Zemin era, people were so averse to that kind of stuff. Like you still had Mao as a figurehead and stuff, but it was much more like, oh, let's not do that again.
I feel like people have just forgotten.
Yeah, for sure.
And to be fair, in China, because they hide all of these atrocities from the people.
It's revisionism.
Yeah. People don't really know the extent to how bad it was. People that didn't live through it personally wouldn't know.
Nope. And that's the issue, is that we thought the newest generation, the most liberal generation is our generation.
Yes.
Like people in their 30s and 40s.
Yeah.
The newest generation has not gone through any of that stuff.
Yeah, they've just seen China's being successful and having money and stuff.
And so now that kind of huge dictatorship fervor, that kind of cult of personality is back.
Yeah.
And it's celebrated now because there wasn't any suffering.
Yeah.
Right?
That's
it's
what
new Mao. It's Mao 2.0. I know it's cliche, but Xi Jinping is Mao 2.0.
Yeah, it's pretty awful. We have to keep an eye on this space because you can see that he's driving China back into the bad old days. Look at this ridiculous COVID lockdown thing that's really just destroying the economy.
Great symptom of that.
And he doesn't care.
No. Well, I mean, Xi Jinping's never been pro-economy anyway.
Yeah.
He's not pro-market. He's very much
himself.
Circle of power.
He's pro himself and pork.
And
pro-pork.
Pro-pork.
Yeah, that's it.
It's the pro-pork movement.
Yeah, exactly.
I hate these detractors of pork.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, look at that. Anyway. Let's keep going.
We'll show another little symptom of this here quickly. Let's show it quickly.
I covered this thing. I wanted to just.
You want to set it up?
I covered this up. I covered this back when I was talking about the brainwashing that's happening in schools.
Yeah.
And this clip had escaped me, but basically there was this weird thing that teachers were going. I think they were told to do this, obviously, from the central government, but they had to go around and get little kids in their class. To say, 你说一句话，你证明你是中国人, which means like say one thing.
Say something to prove you're Chinese.
Right, that's a good way to translate it. So if you raise your hand, then you're a good kid, right?
Yeah.
Because you're going to say something that's going to be like nationalistic and patriotic, right? And they're brainwashing these kids, and I just thought it was super gross, right? But there's a new clip of the same kind of era of this happening that slipped past us, so we'd like to play that.
Yeah, let's take a quick look at it. Okay.
This is grade 3, by the way.
Grade
this
3.
Is like 8-year-olds, 7, 8-year-olds.
Are they that old?
Yeah.
Okay. Let's see.
3、3班的孩子们，你能用一句话来证明你是中国人吗？秋千。
Okay, hang on. What we'll do is we'll translate these one by one rather than go back.
Sure.
Okay,
Yeah,
so the
most of the
first little girl jumps up. She says,
你能用一句话来证明你是中国人吗？
The teacher says, "Can you prove that you're Chinese?" And all the kids spring up with their hands. I can do it.
I can do it. Yeah, pick me.
秋千。
Man's life worships soldier. Don't worship stars.
So it's like a poem. It's like a nationalist poem. Communist poem.
Our
worship stars.
Yeah, worship stars. Our worship stars.
Or.
That 5-point. Or worship stars. That 5-pointed star, which is the PRC flag. The 5 star flag.
It's like a quote. It basically means like don't worship like ethereal things unless it like stars, unless it's the 5-pointed star, which is the Chinese star.
Exactly. So basically worship the flag of China.
Yeah.
好，宇轩。
We have given free COVID-19. Yeah, we have given. What did I say?
We have been given.
Yeah, well, we have given. Yeah, that's right. We have given free COVID-19 vaccines. Yeah. So this is just to prove you're Chinese. Apparently, is that we've been given free. You know what? I got a vaccine in the USA.
It was free.
You know how much I paid?
0.
Am I Chinese?
That must mean that we're Chinese.
Yeah, we're just freaking Chinese. Maybe if you change this a bit to say we were given an ineffective COVID vaccine for free, then you can say you're Chinese. That would fix it. And it's true, by the way. It's freaking ineffective.
Oh, yeah. I mean, the opposite would be like, we were given effective vaccine. That means we're American.
We were given
apparently.
an effective, and they could say we were given ineffective. Not to make fun of anyone in China who's taken it, but at the same time, to use that as a point of pride.
Oh, no, and also screw the Chinese government for denying mRNA vaccines to their populace.
Exactly, because they wouldn't be in the position they're in.
They were offered. Yeah. They were offered.
Yeah, the rest of the world's like, hey,
You know when China keeps saying like, oh, the rest of the world doesn't care about their own lives. We care about the people. No, you don't. You would rather save face nationally and let your own citizens die from having shit vaccines.
Yeah.
Because you've been offered the good ones.
Yeah,
and you said no.
They said no. We want our homegrown one.
Right.
We only want the Chinese,
which is worse.
One. Yeah. Demonstrably worse.
Free with a 50% efficacy discount.
Yeah, exactly. And look, just to be clear, it's proven that it was only about 55% effective against the beginning strain, and against strains now it's 0. It's got nothing. It cannot do anything to the latest strains of COVID.
Right.
You may as well not be vaccinated.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I mean, it's getting to that level.
It is. It's at that level. The Chinese vaccine.
But they could have had the good one. They could have had mRNA, and the people have to suffer for it. To me, that's evil.
Because of face.
That's so evil.
I agree. Anyway, let's see what's next. What else proves you're Chinese?
These poor kids.
Yeah, it's awful. We only celebrate Chinese New Year.
So the words are very key here.
Yeah.
So you use the word 只, which means like only, right?
Only, yeah.
And it means that they're not allowed to celebrate other holidays. They can only celebrate Chinese New Year.
You don't celebrate any other New Years.
Yeah.
No, seriously.
Or any foreign holidays, really. What they're trying to say is they're only allowed to celebrate Chinese holidays.
There's actually a follow-up to this directly. We can see. Yeah.
我们不过圣诞节, which means like we don't celebrate Christmas. And they use that as a general thing. Like what they're actually saying is that they don't celebrate any foreign holidays because they're not allowed.
I mean, that's fine, whatever. It's like, you could say that, like, oh, you're Jewish. Yeah, I don't celebrate Christmas. I celebrate
But that's not what they're saying.
Hanukkah,
they're not saying we don't. They're saying you can't. That's actually what that means. They're saying we only celebrate Chinese holidays. We don't celebrate foreign holidays. You understand what this is about.
I do. I'm just saying, like, to the layman, it could seem innocuous, as if like, oh, we don't celebrate this because we're Jewish, or we don't celebrate this because we're Christian.
Right.
We don't celebrate Eid because we're whatever.
Right.
But it's not like that. No. It's like we're Chinese because we only celebrate this, and we don't suck up to and celebrate other holidays, because it actually became a thing in China. Remember a couple of years back, while I was still there, where they were like, look, these foreign holidays are getting a bit too much here. Why are we as Chinese people like caring about Santa Claus and Christmas trees and stuff and Halloween and stuff. No,
I was there when
no,
they
no.
banned it. I covered it on my channel.
And they're like, no, that's not good. We have our own identity, so we're just going to flush that out.
Yeah.
And like Christmas decorations were taken down and not allowed in certain malls and things like that as part of this whole...
You saw little blips that were still there, but by and large, it was a government push to stop all foreign things.
You know, it was very, very much a big celebration, Christmas, since I got to China, because it's part of commercialism. It's part of capitalism. It's part of how China was going, the direction China was going.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So you would see massive celebrations for Christmas.
Yeah, it was fun.
And you'd have, like, for instance, in the kindergartens in the school, they'd have Christmas plays.
It was a huge cross-cultural thing that was amazing. And it's not because it's my culture. It's because it was a bunch of Chinese people that never had access to any of this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Finally, we're coming together with like the foreign staff, and it was just a really nice thing. Just like we would go to the Chinese New Year celebrations with people, and they would welcome us. It was a wonderful thing. It was cross-cultural.
And they decided nope. And so like kids weren't allowed to do Christmas plays anymore at school, and you know they cut out like a lot of the Christmas decorations.
Imagine telling a kid here in the U.S. that they can't do a Chinese New Year presentation.
Yeah, because you're American.
Yeah, that's just like,
yeah,
wow. I would go protest that.
Sure,
you know, that's
absolutely.
insane.
Yeah. Anyway, so we just want to put it into context what's being said here.
Right.
Okay, so what's next? Oh, my favorite. This is my absolute favorite. Both my parents and grandma use Huawei phones, so that proves you're Chinese.
And you know what's great about that is they've tried to divorce Huawei so much from this, like for the outside, for the foreigners. They don't want them to think it has anything to do with China. They're like, oh, they're getting bullied unfairly. Everyone should use Huawei.
No, don't worry. Huawei's just
it's
like,
not
you know,
connected.
yeah, it's not connected to the government.
This is a government initiative to force kids to say stuff like this.
Yeah.
This is in the textbook.
It is. So like basically because your parents and grandparents use Huawei phones, that means you're Chinese. That proves you're Chinese.
Yes. Yeah.
So if they use those dirty foreigner brands like Apple, that means they're not real Chinese people.
Correct.
They're not true Chinese.
No.
Yeah, it's kind of ridiculous. Anyway, let's see what else. I will not regret being a Chinese and shall be a Chinese again in the afterlife. So wait, that
actually is so, like, nationality is more important than anything.
Yeah.
Like when you die, it's more important to be a Chinese citizen.
Yeah,
than
exactly.
to just be a dead dude.
And in the next life, in the next embodiment, I'll be Chinese too. That's how Chinese I am.
Right.
How do you freaking know, little kid? Have you ever died before? Like, have you ever been in the afterlife?
This kid is not his fault.
I know. I'm just kidding. Literally, like it's terrible. Like, what kind of a brainwashed crap is this?
It's insane.
It's like, yeah, okay. So when I die and I go to the afterlife, I will still be Chinese. That's how Chinese I am. You know. Anyway.
I mean, I've taught my kids to be proud to be Chinese, to celebrate their Chinese heritage. But when you're going so far that you're making kids stand up to literally say party doctrine and jargon that Xi Jinping currently wants everyone to think is insane. Part of the public education system.
Correct. Okay, let's see what's next. We will only sing the national anthem. I mean...
Yeah, why?
So wait, you can't sing any other songs? It's like Twinkle Twinkle Little Star. No!
I think that
Yeah, it's more like Gun Kai. Anyway. It's just
that's rude.
Yeah, but seriously, that they should, remember? Like, get lost, all of those of you who don't want to be slaves, because you have to be slaves.
Oh, no, and also, remember they banned that
They
line
banned that
in the
line.
song.
Yeah,
That's
so
right.
you have to change it. We will only sing the national anthem.
I think it means like we'll only sing
our national anthem. But why would, I mean, I guess you
Even
learn...
though it doesn't actually translate to that.
No, I'm just thinking like, you know, in school you learn other countries' national anthems and you can sing them if you want. I guess in China it's like...
of all the countries.
Yeah, it's like verboten, you can't do it.
We always used to like rank them. I remember we would learn all like the anthems or whatever, we'd rank them. And America was always pretty high up on the list, but we didn't rank it number one. But did the teacher go out and whip us for it?
Yeah, they're like, no, you may only sing the national anthem.
So.
They catch you singing in Kosi Sikalele or something, they'll be like, get the hell out.
Dude, we got called White Skinned Pig.
Oh, nice.
It's been so long.
Yeah, thank you.
Bye, Piju.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. Okay, anyway, let's continue. Oh, wait.
That
Sorry.
doesn't matter. There's a mountain called Zhongnan Mountain. It's just like a poem.
Okay, the next one. I am the successor of communism. You know, you're the successor of
That actually is what it says.
Yeah, no, he's the successor of people that survived communism.
Yeah.
Literally, that survived the starvation and the struggles.
And now is forced to read this crap.
Yeah.
He's going to have to grow up with this.
Yeah, I mean, it's difficult. I actually spoke to a Chinese guy the other day who reached out to me, and he told me how when he first moved abroad, how difficult it was for him to shake this kind of rhetoric.
Right.
You know, he's still in his 20s.
Right.
But, you know, he grew up with all this, and this has been going on for a long time. So when you have all of this stuff built into your mind and all this brainwashing that you receive in school, it takes the longest time. And he says that he understands why the Wu Mao are the way they are and why we get attacked. He said he used to attack us too. And it was only after living abroad for a number of years that he opened his mind. And
that's interesting.
He actually apologized to me to say that he was one of the guys who used to go and attack me online.
Right.
And it's kind of interesting to see. But I fully sympathize because when you grow up as a young child having this crap in your head, no, but it ingrains itself in you. And it's so hard to unlearn that kind of behavior.
It is.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Anyway.
It's brainwashing.
Always follow the CCP.
Oh my gosh, it makes me nauseous.
Of course, yeah. So no matter what they do, if they're like killing your parents, follow them too. You know, that's pretty much the sentiment here.
That makes me sick.
Oh, absolutely. What else? Okay, now explain this. This is the clip I wanted to know about.
Okay, so you know how like recently China's been trying to say like they're trying to sneak this in media, by the way. It's actually infiltrating Western media. It's saying like we didn't actually pick Russia's side. We're not going to help them that much. You know, blah, blah, blah. But domestically, actually what they're putting out there is constant, again, over and over again. If you're new here, they've constantly backed Russia nonstop.
Yeah.
Now they're bullying other countries that are trying to help Ukraine.
Right.
Predominantly Lithuania here. They hate Lithuania
Of course,
so
because
much.
Lithuania stood up to them.
And it promoted Taiwan.
Yeah.
Right. They hate Lithuania so much. I just want people to see this. We'll play it out. We don't need to harp on too much. We're running out of time. But
Okay, all right. We'll just play it out for you then. Okay, and we'll give you a quick summary at the end.
陶宛火上浇油，想当出头鸟，不料嚣张过头，被撂狠话。今日，立陶宛国防部长阿努索斯卡斯声称，俄罗斯在与乌克兰边境部署军力，立陶宛准备通过一切手段支持乌克兰，包括提供致命武器。我们知道，在此之前，俄罗斯给了美国一道选择题。是选择局势升级，还是保持和平？美国这边才说完考虑考虑，立陶宛就迫不及待地跳出来放狠话，而这些话无疑给正在气头上的俄罗斯火上浇油。不过俄罗斯并不屑于自己动手，而是在社交平台上推了一波白俄罗斯前一天的发言：如果欧洲发生战争，那么波罗的海国家必将从地球上抹去。万历不禁想说，立陶宛，你这么卖力叫嚣，你的美国爸爸看完一定很感动吧？不过你的致命武器是什么？你有吗？还是说你的美国爸爸已经开好了清单，准备要卖给你武器？又或者娱乐大众就是你的致命武器？对此你怎么看？评论区留言告诉我。
Okay, so very brief summary if you're just a listener out there. They are going out there saying to the Western world, or actually the whole world, that we didn't choose Russia and this has nothing to do with us.
Yeah.
And they put out state media like this that goes and says, Lithuania, shut up. And by the way, here's what Belarus said. This is they're mirroring the sentiment.
Sure.
If anybody helps Ukraine in this conflict, then you're going to be wiped off the map.
Yeah, that's what they said.
And Russia gave America two choices. Either you stoke these flames or you
maintain peace.
You maintain peace. Meaning that they're saying that what Russia is doing, invading a sovereign country, is peaceful.
Yeah.
And that, by the way, Russia is such a nice country that they won't hurt Lithuania because it's one of their own. It's like, wow.
Yeah, and they basically threaten Lithuania as well. You
Yeah.
know, they're like, oh, you know, do you have any lethal weapons? Like, would you really be able to fight back by yourself?
Or you need a U.S. daddy to help you out.
Yeah.
This was like, what? This is actually what's happening.
Yeah.
This is the sentiment of the Chinese government. They're backing Russia.
Let's jump straight into world news, and then we'll do a big Q&A,
Agreed.
big yum chow. Okay, so we got world view. I always call it world news, but it's actually world view.
It's a view of
where we
the
talk
world.
about, you know, what's going on in the world, specifically with regards to China. It's kind of like what's new, and it should basically be the same thing, but sometimes it's a bit different.
That's right.
Okay, let's take a look what our friend old Xi Jinping has to say. All right,
So there's no audio here. I'm going to quote him.
Okay.
Xi Jinping's getting real pissed.
Of course.
He's getting real mad. And I'll tell you why.
Mm-hmm.
He's very upset. I think a little news got back to him. You know, he surrounds himself with yes men.
Yes.
Apparently, the yes men have relinquished a little too much info to him because he's real pissed off that the rest of the world is making fun of his zero COVID policy, the dynamic zero COVID policy.
Right.
So he put out a warning. He literally put out a warning to the world, specifically probably to Chinese people that are doubting his resolute dynamic approach.
Yes.
And he said, unswervingly adhere. Oh, this is him and his cabinet, right?
Yeah.
To the general policy of dynamic zero COVID. So this is what you're seeing, the insane lockdowns, right?
Yes.
And resolutely fight against any words and acts that distort, doubt, or deny our country's epidemic prevention policies. So this is the first time that Xi Jinping has like made a speech about the pandemic response.
Yes.
Right. And of this, like the lockdowns in Shanghai.
Mm-hmm.
He says, our prevention and control strategy is determined by the party's nature and mission. Our policies can stand the test of history. Our measures are scientific and effective. And this is the 7-member committee, right? We have won the battle to defend Wuhan, and we will certainly be able to win the battle to defend Shanghai.
Yeah, so basically he was saying, shut up everybody who wants to be free and not be in a prison.
Yeah, and shut up to anyone that says, wait a minute, this is maybe
not working.
not working.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
It's actually kind of despicable for him to go ahead and do that because obviously it's in response to the vast amount of criticism that's been coming from abroad and locally,
China,
domestically. People are like, what the hell are you doing, man? This shit's not it's not bad. It's asymptomatic.
Yeah.
It feels like you got a cold. I'm already over it.
Right.
And they're dragging people out to quarantine even though they've already tested negative.
And killing them.
Yeah.
They're dying
People
because
are,
of this.
Look, people are dying in Shanghai.
They're giving birth in the streets.
Yeah, because they're not allowed into the hospitals.
Little 3-year-olds and stuff are choking to death because they get denied.
Yeah,
into
that
the
was a
hospitals.
disgusting thing about that kid who choked to death because they took the kid to the hospital and they're like, where's your 48-hour PCR test? We're not going to let you in, and they die. You know, we've seen the videos. We've seen the videos.
Yeah.
It's disgusting. Look, bad things are happening in Shanghai. There is one positive in Shanghai, though.
What's that?
I've had a couple of people
There's
reach
a lot
out.
of positives.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, not just one.
Yeah.
But no, there is something is some people have been allowed, and it's not out of the people that I know that I'm speaking to, it's a very small percentage. Only 3 of them out of the literally like 50 people I'm speaking to.
Yeah, only
right
3
now.
that we've talked to.
Yeah. They're being allowed to now go outside and walk around their compound.
Woo!
But
within the gate.
Yeah, but they're only allowed to do it for 2 hours maximum.
It's like yard time.
And it is. It's yard time, and it's like staggered and whatever. So they get like a permit to be able to walk around for 2 hours.
Right.
But like I said, this is only some areas, in like very posh areas and very rich areas, and in certain compounds. Other people we know haven't been able to get out of their house ever, other than for the PCR tests that they have to take every day. You know, so it's. I suppose in some ways it's slightly positive that there's some relaxation.
Yeah.
In some of the compounds.
I guess.
I mean, we have to be fair. Like, that's what we do is we don't make up crap here on this channel.
No.
If there's some change,
Yeah.
we're going to tell
course.
people about
Of
it.
course.
And so if you happen to see anything about people walking around and stuff, remember, it's just like yard time.
And it's also
in a prison.
They're also probably being told to shoot that video.
Oh, if there's a video, yeah. But no, no, I'm talking about people that are making videos.
Yeah, I got you.
Another guy reached out to me this morning saying that because his wife is in Shanghai, that his wife has been allowed in her compound to go out and walk.
In the gate, by the way.
Yeah.
People have to understand what a compound is. You're
Yeah,
not
it's
allowed
like
on the road.
it's like a gated community.
You can't go to a restaurant.
No.
You're inside of your
Yeah.
own house.
Yeah, yeah. He's just
In the
downstairs,
yard.
like in
Yeah,
the garden.
downstairs.
They've got like a
yard.
quad and a yard and maybe a little water feature or something, or a little couple of trees and
those
stuff.
are rarely
couple of
on.
Yeah, they're never on. A couple of benches and stuff, so you can walk
Yeah,
around.
for a
Which
couple
is not.
hours.
I mean, just can you imagine? By the way. Some people have been stuck in their apartments for like 70 days or some crap like this, okay? The majority of people have been stuck in their apartments for at least a month.
Yeah, it's insane. People are
Okay.
going crazy.
Yeah. And the only time you're allowed to go out is for the PCR test.
Yep.
We're talking about tiny little apartments.
Yeah.
It's not good for anyone's mental health. And just being able to get some yard time, I mean, prisoners are treated more humanely than, you know, in most of the world.
Most
Not in
countries.
China.
No.
But no, prisoners are treated more humanely because they understand the importance of exercise and going out in the sun and doing some things a little bit every day.
That's right.
Well, in China, in Shenzhen, in Shanghai right now, if you're in one of those compounds where you're lucky enough, now you get a little bit of yard time each day.
Yeah.
So anyway, hopefully this is a sign that things are opening up a bit, but I wouldn't get my hopes up.
No.
Just wanted to put it out there. Cool. All right. So what else do we have in our
I don't know if we have
worldview?
time for anything else. Let's see. You
Yeah.
don't need to keep playing this clip, bro.
No. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
We'll just show this
That's a
quickly.
quick thing, yeah.
Yeah, show this quickly. What does this say?
It says people who support Western universal values, get out of China.
Sure. I gotta say, you know, when it comes to xenophobia, China ranks pretty high up.
Yeah, I mean, it's like top of the world now.
Yeah.
Top of the morning to you.
Yeah, exactly. So, should we hit our Yamcha?
Yeah.
Okay, guys. Yamcha, you know the drill by now, I hope. This is where we have a nice, relaxing conversation with all of you guys. We answer your super chats. We talk some junk. We got a couple of interesting things to show you. And you get to watch it live. You get to watch it on the weekend. And Monday, we cut it out of the show and we stick it on, up for our patrons. So if you missed it and you're a patron, you can find it. But anyone else can watch it on the weekend or watch it now. So if you're not one of those people, cheers. We'll see you next time. Stay awesome. And for the rest of you, let's chill out.